Special edition.
Oh boy. Oh boy. David. How you doing, sir?
I'm tired.
Yeah, I bet you are. You have been a hardworking man. Double, triple, quadruple hardworking man today, from what I understand.
I today I finished my third clopen. So, and for those of you who don't know what in the restaurant industry what that means, it means I finished my third close to open in a row.
Wouldn't it be open to close?
Well, I mean, they were open to closes, and then it was once I closed, I got to come home and go to bed for like 5 hours,
gotcha.
and then go back and open.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this was very much a last minute addition to our normal vibe. And I've actually done a weird amount of talking about this show in the past 4 hours. So basically, welcome to Brewing Controversy, special edition. This is a not the normal night. We normally are. We were Tuesday. We've been looking at Monday a little. David's schedule's changed a bit, so we're trying to make sure we settle into the right day. But given,
I'm sorry for being a problem child.
I mean, I'll just tell you the same thing I fucking told you in private. You should have taken 2 weeks off to get your shit together, and we could just be chilling out. But then we still would have been here tonight because shit be bananas up in Grand Rapids.
Dude, I love the fact that you got called out by name. That was just beautiful.
It's been a wild ride. I mean, there's like no universe in which what we're going to talk about tonight makes any fucking sense in so many ways, but definitely that element of it is an element. So if you're here for the first time, welcome to Brewing Controversy. I'm Lucas. This is David. I'm Grand Rapids based now, born and raised, and in Nashville for most of my life with my good buddy David. David is one of my best buds in the world, a bearer of a law degree, a former employee of the Republicans, working for the senator from Wyoming when he was in Washington. So David brings an inside understanding of the DC horse shit and the law. I bring a passionate, loose-lipped, dirty mouth. Actually, we both bring the dirty mouth. That's the whole.
Yeah, no, we both bring the dirty. Dude,
that's the whole concept.
There's no way law school drilled that out of me. No,
exactly. So if you're here, say hello, drop comments. John Williamson is here. What's up? BANANAS. Exactly. That's where we've been. So we'll try to throw the comments in. If you are a hater and you've somehow wandered in here, you feel free to throw your haterade in there too. We will let you try your luck with the crowd. But we do welcome everybody here. We've had plenty of people in the comments and as guests, as guest hosts and as guest interviews that aren't necessarily on our wavelength. We do value that idea that civil adults can sit over a beer and chit chat. Kelly's here. Hey, Kelly, good to see you. You're notorious, clearly, if they're calling you out by name. Job well done. Yeah, I wasn't there for that. That wasn't a goal. The goal was to get the subject of the evening, John O'Connor, to actually give a fuck and have something to say for himself. And now we know what he had to say for himself, and we're going to talk about that. It's going to be so entertaining. But first, Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hi,
this
Cindy.
is all new people that we've never had on, at least not vocally. But you guys are always welcome anytime we do a show. But I'm so glad to have everybody around. So real quick, something that we do, we have a different format for a normal show. We're just going to be on one topic tonight. But one of the things that we always like to do before we get rolling too deep is we like to talk about what we're drinking. Part of the purpose of this is that we drink and review craft beer in between the political banter. However, tonight it's just drinking, and I went and drank, and then I brought more of the same thing home to drink. And in between, I've had a million different stops. But the way we kick this off usually, and we will only do this once for the beginning, and then we'll leave it alone. But we talk about what we're drinking. So, David, it's time. What you drinking?
So tonight I have Tailgate Brewery's Trees Smoking and Joking.
Oh, cool. Joker theme, kind of.
Right? And also kind of Cheech and Chong theme. Let me see the...
a smoky, creepy van with Joker smiles.
Right.
That would never be suspicious. So at least in Grand Rapids, it would not be suspicious as long as it was a white driver. But
I
got jokes all night.
So
is it?
it's kind of, this is actually kind of an interesting thing. You know, me and Tailgate can sometimes have a love-hate relationship when they go experimenting. And this one is actually pretty good. It has a little bit of a sweet, not quite citrus opener,
Okay.
and then it drops off a little in the middle, and then it finishes pretty strong with that juicy West Coast IPA feel. So it is, but what's interesting is that kind of sweet opener that's very much not citrus. They described it as berries, and I'm prone to agree with them that it is kind of, it's not quite cherry, it's not quite strawberry, it's just a sweet generic, I guess, kind of like, you know, like you open up a bag of gummy bears and one's just labeled berry.
Gummy bears bouncing here and
Bouncing
there
here
and
and
everywhere. Yeah. You know, when I took theater in college, part of it was
like
comedy.
gummy juice.
Big surprise for people that have met me. Comedy was a big piece of my theater minor, and you had to do a lip sync performance as one of the assignments, and I chose the fucking Gummy Bears theme song. I wasn't this fat in college. I was always this big, but I wasn't this fat because I hadn't had as much of this. And tonight, speaking of the sides of vans, this shit looks like the art on the side of a van. So tonight what I did, so there are 2 media interviews so far, and I don't exactly know. They may be airing like any minute now. They may have already aired. I really haven't been able to track it yet. But the local Fox affiliate and I think CBS affiliate, I'm such a new kid that I don't know what Wood TV is technically. I didn't get to stop and actually pay attention. But those 2 interviewed me. Wood asked if I could like run by at 5:10 so that she could get her shit together for a 6 o'clock show. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll be glad to. You know, it's important that the people see these things and talk about these things. And so I was over in the right area to basically go a few blocks down to Brewery Vivant, which I have sung the praises of here quite a few times. So this is Devastation, bourbon barrel aged double IPA. It's kind of the marriage of both good IPA and my bourbon barrel, like, fanboy status. And I just kind of love this art. It's such Stranger Things D&D fodder. It's fucking beautiful. It tastes great. It's 9.2%. So we're both in that bubble. And John tells us that one of the segments has aired. He's seen one of them. I look forward to seeing it. And then Matt, the restaurant in Shanghai I worked at, had gummy bear dessert, and the staff ran around the table as they ate it. Weird, right? Well, I don't know what was in those gummy bears. No, wait, where was this? If it was in Michigan, I would have questions. If it was in Tennessee, I would still have questions. They just wouldn't be legal. So, yeah. So anyway, if you somehow wandered in here, this is the John O'Connor special. David was telling me before we went on that I should have been making Terminator jokes like, "Are you John O'Connor?" Like, yeah, it's one extra syllable, but it's accurate. So for those catching up, which I seriously doubt anybody here doesn't know what the fuck is going on, the overarching problem, well, actually, it's not fair to say that the overarching problem here is the murder of Patrick Lyoya at the hands of Christopher Schur, an officer who has now been dismissed from the Grand Rapids Police Department and is going up for 2nd degree, which probably should be 1st degree murder. The overarching problem is the same fucking thing that we have coast to coast, border to border, the overvaluation of goddamn rich, white, power brokering fucking bullshit. It just happens to have reared its head most recently in the most vile of ways in this event. And so a lot of what we hear talking in the sphere of this city and activists and political discussions is intertwined with all of that shit, right? So there's a lot to it. But David, you're the most newbie to this topic because you've been working your ass off. You don't live here. You live in Nashville. You're 550 fucking miles away. Yep. So before I get into any of the video clips from the night or any of the deeper discussion, I want you to just kind of throw it at me, like anything that you're thinking as the straight man in the room, so to speak. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you want to know? Like, what's unclear right now for you as an outsider looking on?
I mean, what's unclear to me, there's 2 things that are unclear about what's going on. Number one, what is the Grand Rapids City Council doing to address any of these issues that
Commission. Get it right, buddy.
Commission, fine.
You can have your 40-member oversized fucking underpaid council in Nashville. It falls under the 1/3 reasons that I moved here, which was sick of Nashville.
It's democracy in action.
Yeah, it's
sort of.
It's
except for the fact that the last names never change.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. We decided to boot the only mayor that didn't have one of those last names just because she was fucking her bodyguard. I'm still bitter about that shit.
Right. But yeah, it's what is the commission doing to address any of these issues? Number one, and number two, you've sent me some videos, and I've seen a little bit. What is going on in these hearings that there doesn't seem to be any sort of rhyme or reason, or I mean, granted, I'm used to seeing the Nashville City Council, which is a 3-ring circus on meth, right?
I love that because you had me at 3-ring circus. You sent it all the way the fuck home on the
right. So I'm used to that. This is a city the third the size, and apparently you've stolen all our meth.
Yeah. Cindy says it well right here. John O'Connor is my commissioner. He's never once returned a single phone call. So fortunate he is actually my commissioner, because on the southern edge of the first ward, 49507 for those not in town. That's our 49 is our series of zips. It's kind of like in Nashville. You never said the 37. You just said, yeah, I'm in 209 or whatever. So far, I've seen $0 invested in this part of the ward. Walk through our neighborhood park. We don't have any flowers. John O'Connor needs to suck a dirty dick and rotten asshole. My feelings are 100% valid, and she is absolutely not wrong. There's a lot of negative feedback for him. And then Kelly concurs, went to school and worked in 507 for like 15 years. So what's being done, David? That's a good question. All right. So there are things. They are not well publicized. They are hardly discussed. They are closed door, very poorly engaged. This city has a real shitty communications problem. And I know I could
worse than Cooper or better than Cooper.
Here's the thing, David. Cooper has people doing shit, and Cooper understood that he was a politician showing up to be a politician.
For those of you in the Grand Rapids city who are confused, Cooper is one of the many political dynasties of our city. Don't get him confused with Representative Cooper. This is Mayor Cooper, his cousin.
Right. Same family, different offices. But here's the thing, I still think I like John Cooper, Mayor of Nashville, and his adorable little 5-foot old man, big fuzzy fucking eyebrows status. And he definitely was the better candidate among all the fucking competition. But Fox, Carol Swain.
What was his name? Campbell?
I don't remember that one.
No.
Campbell? I don't remember Campbell.
I remember the debates. He was double at the brewery.
But you know what?
Here's the thing. Beers. I was
in Nashville, you only need to have 25 signatures to get on the fucking mayor's ballot. So every time there's a mayor's election, like literally everyone's dipshit uncle, like absolutely, literally everyone's dipshit uncle ends up on the ballot.
Carol Swain.
And then there's Carol Swain. That fucking we could do a whole show on that. So you're gonna have to just Google that bitch because no. But yeah, so there's
works for PragerU if that helps any of you all.
Yeah. So there's some stuff, but a lot of it's lip service or half-assed, half measures. As John points out, they aren't pursuing real change. And apparently Matt's really enjoying our review of mayoral candidates. All right. So to answer your question, David, to the best of our knowledge, all we can do is repeat these vague placations. Even those of us that have been in direct contact with some of the commissioners, they don't really have a lot of solid, stone cold change. And absolutely none of them seem to understand that we don't live in the time when you can say, we're working on it, and you can do a bunch of kind of pansy shit until you're out of office and the next guy has to pick up what's left.
Is there an ordinance or a
things
program
to happen
proposed like that's gone before? I keep on having to remind myself, commission?
There hasn't been anything terribly actionable. There were some weird token reductions in police funding. Now, keep in mind, the police budget here is a really touchy problem. First of all, we have a charter that guarantees the police a certain percentage of the city budget minimum, which I find to be just
holy God.
Exactly.
Metro PD would love it if that's
bat fuck retarded on surface level examination, but also just fucking shocking. Never mind offensive. There should be no department given a standard floor in the budget. That's job number one. Like nobody. And there's a lot of this.
I want to come back to this real fast because my mind is so like, but my imagination is completely beggared.
Yeah.
By the idea that I live in a major metropolitan city with an arguably half-assed police force on a good day, and then a secondary weird police force that can't do a lot of things, and then a tertiary police force that can do almost nothing, and then whatever the fourth one would be.
What's your tertiary in the Nashville model?
Park police.
Yeah, okay. So
Metropolitan Park Police.
The park police are part of the Metro Police, and they're nice guys, but
they get
what are they
different
really
cars
doing?
And different uniforms.
Yeah, I cussed one of them out one night.
He did not green like shirt. The park police get the green shirt.
Yeah. So I have a weird relationship with police in general, but I have a weird relationship with Nashville's park police because I hired them to work one of my events because they're cheaper. If you hire off-duty Metro Nashville police, you don't get anything but a goon in a uniform. If you hire the park police, they come with a free car. Nashville charges you like another $45 an hour for the fucking car. And once I figured that model out, I was like, well, these guys aren't even the same kind of asshole. I'm going to hire the park guys. They're cooler dudes.
What do the sheriffs cost?
You can't use them there because like you referenced just now, they can't do shit. All they do is run jails and deliver warrants. That's it. For those that are from the Midwest, Nashville has the most fucked up model you can imagine. The sheriff can't do anything. I can't tell you how much I spent my whole life. I would be cruising down the highway. Uh-oh, there's a cop car. I better watch myself. I ease up. Oh, it's Davidson County Sheriff. They can't write tickets. And like take the fuck off just to rub it in.
They just don't know how.
Well, right. They aren't trained. They don't have a book, and they don't have any legal power to do it. And David is not going to go on his tirade for the sake of time.
No, I'm not.
But there's a way that those two departments could be divided and employed that would make a lot of fucking sense, and it relates
except
to the
for the park
overall
police.
problem.
There's really nothing we can do with the park police. And then
so you'll love my. I don't know if I ever told you my park police story. When I was living in South Nashville and I don't really know. I can't make analogies with Nashville versus Grand Rapids, but South Nashville is the most diverse end of Nashville. You can drive down the main drag, Nolensville Road, that I lived off of, and you can have any one of no less than 20 ethnic food types. It's a really beautiful area of town when you look at it from a cultural perspective. But of course, it comes with a lot of police bias. And I remember one night there was this cop riding ass all the way up Nolensville Road, and he passed by, and he was a park cop. So of course, because I'm a dick, and I'm this kind of activist that knows how to be a dick within the law, I rode his ass for a few blocks. Then he brake tested me. Now, this needs to come with a caveat disclaimer, and a lot of people have heard me reference this I haven't gotten to talk a lot about it because we only get 3 fucking minutes in the chamber, but part of my resentment about cops is the shit I've been able to do as a white man and get away with. This is one of those stories. So I rode his ass, and then he brake tested me. So I swerved around him very dramatically. Then he pulls me over, which is hysterical because he's not in a park. And his jurisdiction.
Also, he gets the pretty little green lights as opposed to actual.
No, they have blue lights. They have blue. The only difference is the green stripe.
Okay.
So when he pulls me over, and I also flipped him off out the window when I passed him. Forgot about that. When he pulls me over, he says, "What's your problem?" I said, "What's your problem? You've been riding every ass in my end of town all the way the fuck down this road. Do you have a need that I can address?" He said, "Well, then you rode my ass." Like, "Yeah, how does it feel, bitch?" And he said, "I don't understand your attitude." I said, "My attitude is that you have the easiest job on the force. You're not even a real fucking cop. and you're
Oh,
speeding and you're riding ass in my part of town and you're terrorizing my citizens. And he said, why would you say I'm not a real cop? Like, because you're not a real cop. You're a park cop. Well, you can't be doing that. People are going to think you're up to something. Like, why can't I do that? The Supreme Court has protected that finger, and you get to enjoy it when you're a dick. He said, well, you need to calm down and go on your way, sir. I will, but I'm going to call your supervisor on the way to the grocery store, which I did.
That's probably the only call his supervisor has gotten. And like, I just imagine the Metro Park Police in like some basement of the Ben West building.
So anyway, supervisor calls and he says, I understand that you had an altercation with an officer. And I said, yeah. And he confirmed the details. I said, yeah. He said, why did you do that? And said, because he was being an asshole and somebody's got to. He said, well, I mean, why would you flip the bird at an officer of the law? Well, because the Supreme Court upheld my right to do so. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? He's like, no, I just wanted to find out what happened. Like, well, that's what happened, motherfucker. And I went and got my fucking groceries and went home. But here's the problem. Here's why I come in hot about cops. I wouldn't have been able to go get my groceries and go home if I were black. And that's not fucking okay.
With the park police, I don't know. Maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe. But but my point remains. Like, I mean, I've been able to criticize police in ways that should be available to every American and are not available to our neighbors and friends and adored loved ones of color. And it's not fucking fair.
So we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are. So that's the background. Do you have any other questions before I unleash the clips?
Yeah, for our Grand Rapids viewers, that's not the topic. So there's been no proposal presented. There's been no ordinance presented. There's been no reform package presented.
Nothing substantive, nothing comprehensive. Basically a bunch of fear and silence from elected leaders. Now, to give them just a little grace, which is about all they're going to get, they've never experienced anything remotely close to this before. They have no idea what the fuck to do. And apparently there's no one, I guess, for them to call and get advice from. I don't know why. You'd think there'd be some, bigger cities they could call up and say, look, you dealt with this. What can we fucking do? And, I don't know. I don't know why they haven't had any more balls. I don't know why the ultimately ceremonial mayor that doesn't actually do anything but break ties on a 6-person commission. Like, she doesn't actually run the fucking city. The city manager runs the fucking city. He makes like a ridiculously like 5-6 times more than she does. I mean, she would be the perfect spokesperson to step in and say, well, not technically because of who she is, but she could step in and be like, okay, I want real change. I'm going to speak out for real change. I'm going to support people, and John speaks well here. They're overwhelmed and don't realize they're writing themselves into the villains of a civil rights movie. That's fucking poetic, dude. That is exactly fucking right. And what's crazy is there's no excuse for them to be overwhelmed because there's motherfuckers like me that will dedicate our own personal time to sending them voluminous emails with ideas. You could fix this rule. This rule's stupid. This shit's out of order. Put it up here at the top of your agenda. Hey, this week, I sent her a goddamn outline that she could follow on when and how to bang the gavel and what kind of timeout she should be taking to escalate and manage appropriately. And where does that come from? I mean, part of it is the theater minor and the arts management courses that I had. I understand and know how to run a nonprofit. And to me, also, you can run a meeting in a city like a nonprofit.
Also, the fact that you weren't exactly a unknown figure in the in the council chamber here in Nashville. So,
and again, Nashville Council had a beautiful benefit for a guy that's in branding and design. You could bring paper to them, and they had to distribute it to their desks. So, I initially started my volleys in the Nashville chamber with a clear propaganda piece in front of every fucking council person on whatever I was on about. And honestly, I didn't have to go that many times. A lot of times I just sauntered over from the office, dropped the shit off, and went home and watched the meeting because they knew what the fuck I thought. It was sitting on their fucking desk.
Right.
I didn't have to speak.
And, but I mean, again, having watched your commission meetings, I got to say, it really feels like you all borrowed our meth.
Meth, not method. And this is I left this on the screen for a while so everybody could read it because this tees up a lot of the problems with the subject at hand.
Yeah.
So let's get into a quick backgrounder on my relationship with John O'Connor. So those that have met me and talked to me, and of course you, because you helped me in my panicked move out when I ran out of space in the fucking moving van. I left Nashville with my family, came to Grand Rapids. Why am I here? Why is this fucking carpetbagging outsider showing up in our city and telling us what to do? Well, at this point, because half of my household is from Ludington, I consider myself half from. So we came home for her. We decided that Grand Rapids was a beautiful place, and it is a beautiful place, in the right place as a city for us to relocate to, in the fuck Nashville, giving up on that shit, the plenty of bullshit baggage from old friends and lost friends and wacky family and all sorts of things. Good reason to get some distance. I fucking love craft beer. Dragon's Milk, my favorite thing ever.
It
right
really
down the fucking street from my house.
Anyone watching, I don't think you understand how much.
Yeah, go back and watch and scrub through and see how many times I bring a Dragon's Milk bottle out on this show. And then a good deal of it, the ability to have an effect again, because Nashville was too big for its britches. It still is. It is a city that has well outpaced the capability of anyone that's making any decisions to manage the beast that they've created. It's a Frankenstein story, honestly. And when I see Grand Rapids venturing into, you're building the monster and you have no goddamn clue how to manage the monster, I start to speak up. So anyway, we get here last summer, Father's Day weekend. We get a pod delivered a couple weeks later. It's out on the street. We live on a very busy main road, which I love because we're walking distance to a lot of cool shit. And I notice there's a traffic problem here. Now, I'm not going to actually give numbers because I don't want the almost certain viewers that are here to rat me out or spy on behalf of a certain police agency that we're going to be talking about tonight. I don't want them to know the numbers or even the make and model of the vehicle. But I needed to get home in 10 minutes tops from 44th Avenue. And the surface of US 131 is not made for the land speed records I was attempting, and I had to control myself. But I like fast fucking cars. I fucking love fast fucking cars, but usually only if they're from Asia. So I'm a Honda and Acura snob, and I always will be. And for me to look off my porch and say, God damn, that motherfucker was speeding, it takes work. I have a lead foot. I have been trained in street racing courses by the stuntman that organized the fucking Italian job. I have a medal hanging on my wall from that guy's street racing course. I know what the fuck I'm doing with a vehicle and gravity and speed and application of brakes. If I look on the street and say, holy shit, you are breaking the law for sure. So that was where I came from. I said, hey, city leaders, just a nice email. I'm just here new. I'm curious, like, what is the method? How can I help? What can I do to help report this? I need help. This street's out of control. The first response I got was from Captain Collar to GRPD, the West Side commander at the time, who was also one of the officials of the police union. And Matt points out how funny it is I live in the land of Fords. But you know what? I respect Ford because of some of the things they're doing. I have no respect for GM. So
that's fair.
I mean, yeah, it's fair. Well, you're a fucking Ford nerd, so
yeah, I all expect nerd.
You're going to fucking. So the first response I got was Captain Collar from GRPD, essentially saying, well, poor us. We are just so put upon. We don't have enough resources, and we're not going to be able to do any better unless the elected officials that you copied can be better about supporting us. This is coming from the son of a bitch that has a minimum guaranteed budget in the fucking charter, and he's got way more money than he's guaranteed, and he's gonna bellyache. He's gonna butt bleed to my ass in an email instead of saying, thank you. Welcome to Grand Rapids. We're glad to have another person here that cares about safety. We're going to try to partner with you the best we can. We're a little challenged right now, but we're working it out, and I look forward to working with all the officials copied on this email to get the best outcomes possible for the citizen. That's what the fuck his ass should have said. But instead, his union fucking ass decided to posture and low-key threaten the elected officials, which, in case you haven't figured out by now, doesn't fucking sit well with the Lucas. So the relationship didn't start off very fucking good. Out of the officials that I connected with, all of us have 2 commissioners, 3 wards, 2 each. One of them, Kurt Reppert, who I think is the most human person on that whole dais. He connected with me, talked about the here's the stuff that was done in the past. We did fix a lot of problems, so we have gotten some leeway on solutions, but we could maybe do more, but we can't do this maybe. I don't know. We'll look into this. I really appreciate you taking the time. Like, he wrote me paragraphs. Then he fucking came by and he sat on my porch with me for 2 hours and we looked at all this shit going on and we talked about practical solutions. What about a speed bump? Well, that might be hard. He didn't tell me why. Later, I had a meeting with the city transportation folks, and they pointed out that my dumb Southern ass didn't think about snowplows. Okay, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I get it. Snowplow plus speed bump, bad.
What is this snowplow you speak of?
I know, right? Yeah. So, there were some productive discussions with city people, but the city manager was copied on all this stuff, and I never fucking heard from him. He didn't do basic customer service. He didn't reply and say, "Hey, I'm glad to hear from you. Yeah, we're going to do our best. You're going to hear from some of my best people. Stand by." That's what a manager fucking does. He didn't do that. He stayed quiet, and he's a separate problem. I eventually had a meeting with him, but I had to piss him off about race before he would fucking talk to me, and that took 9 fucking months, and that's goddamn unacceptable. So the problem in this mix was I was only hearing from one commissioner, and I was told the other one might get with me soon, and so I hit him up in September. Think about it, July to September. That's a 90-day differential. No constituent should wait that long to have even a simple, "Hey, I hear you, I'll be back with you." Okay? So John O'Connor replied after 90 or so days when I emailed again and said, "Are we ever going to talk?" Yes, just like I said we would. When did you say we would? Okay. And so eventually he stops by for a whole 20 minutes on a chilly fall morning, and we talk out on the street corner for 20 minutes, most of which he spent painting the picture of the sad song of the police's people and how hard they have it, instead of telling me that he agrees with me and we should goddamn do something. That did not start our relationship off well, but I tried to give him some grace. Hey, you know what? He sees things differently than me, but maybe I can still work with him. After all, he has a sensitivity to crosswalks because he told me about a guy that got killed in the crosswalk or the space before there was a crosswalk in front of his restaurant and distillery, Long Road Distillers. I'm going to say it once, so I don't have to say it again. I fucking love Long Road. It's a brilliant brand. It's well done. The booze is great. The food is fucking fantastic. Amazing people work there. I'm real fucking pissed off that I have to boycott it right now because he owns it. Because I'm not going to support his bullshit. Yep. But as soon as he leaves office, I'm going to go right back there and support his employees making a living. But I am never going to be able to support him unless he makes amends. So that's the background from September of last year. John O'Connor had not all of a dick worth to say to me about the citywide problem with reckless driving that I was continuing to address. He refused to engage. I've lost count of how many times I've had beers, texts, emails, or meetings with the other commissioner in my district. So you have one overperforming and you have one doing jack fuck. So that's the stage that was set when Christopher Schur murdered Patrick Lyoya on April 4th this year. So I come into it with that relationship with this fucking shitty fucking representative who won't engage about anything. Then I notice that all of them are being way too silent. All of them are lacking anything substantive to say. But some of them are indicating kind of, sort of, occasionally, and in some community meetings, that they sort of, kind of, maybe want to at least pretend like they give a fuck, except John. Meetings conclude. They're all asked for remarks. John just says, nah. John has nothing the fuck to say. And I start to realize this is who he is. He just wants to create a business, make his money, gentrify, and move up the political ladder. So I start gunning for John. I start making sure he's included in a lot of the remarks. Any email where I'm asking for them to engage, I start pointing out, naming his name and saying, "You're not getting with me."
Can I ask a quick question about this guy?
Yeah.
Because I have another question that arises in my head, because I mean this is how I'm used to seeing it in Nashville, which is he holding fundraisers? Is he going and kissing rings at the state party headquarters?
I haven't tracked any of his state activity, but I can tell you this, and I told the Fox interview today. I don't know if it's a they only got so much time. They may have cut it, but I told the Fox reporter, which, to clarify for those in Nashville, we have a Fox 17 here. It's fucking crazy. You have a Fox 17 in Nashville. Your Fox 17 in Nashville is owned by the right-wing cunt lickers at Sinclair Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Our Fox is part of Scripps, an actual journalism organization. They sponsor the fucking spelling bees. Like, these are actual people that, understand intellectual thought. Yeah, they're the Fox affiliate, whatever. They are actually a journalism organization, unlike Scripps, which is basically a right-wing propaganda corporation.
You mean Sinclair?
Oh, no, sorry, Sinclair. Yes, thank you very much. Scripps good, Sinclair bad. Take that away. So I haven't tracked his statewide shit, but here's what I told the reporter today. If John O'Connor thinks he's going to climb the ladder, which undoubtedly he wants to do, though I hope that we've run him off from that course. I hope that he's had it with public service, and he will quietly go sell delicious, amazing booze for the rest of his natural life and shut the fuck up. Wait. No, he can't shut the fuck up because he mostly doesn't say anything.
And again, to give clarification to again, our Grand Rapids viewers, to explain what I'm thinking. So there's a natural course that you go through in Tennessee politics, which is you get elected to council, you sit in the council, maybe you spend an extra little bit as mayor of wherever, and then you run for usually state senate, right? And then once you get to state senate and have a little bit of name recognition, then you're looking at either U.S. congressman or governor or even senator, right? But that's the normal progression that we're used to seeing here, which is councilman, and then get your name, like go kiss the rings at the party headquarters.
Well, I'm 90% sure that I mean, he moved here. He's not from here either. I mean, anybody that wants to say that this is out of town dickhead that showed up and expects to tell everybody what to do versus a native boy, that motherfucker's only been here for like 10, 15 years. He's not native. He showed up, he got involved. He to give him credit, he got a really cool historic school that I can see out my fucking window reopened. It's a great place, and I'm joining in as a community member to try to promote what they do and keep their school alive, because they have dwindling registrations every year because all the fucking gentrifiers send their kids to private school, and the school's left with nothing but half empty classrooms filled with brown kids. It's a beautiful place, and I'm going to support it. He got it reopened. Good for him. He was on the school board. Then he was on the commission. What's next, David? Playing the game, Well, Marsha Blackburn. I don't know. I don't remember where she fucking came from.
She came from the pharmaceutical industry. That's where she came from.
Straight into Republican politics, like you do.
She is their creature. She has always been their creature.
There you go.
Unfortunately, Nashville being the healthcare insurance capital of the planet, because no other developed country requires people to pay for healthcare. So really, it's not actually that hard to be the healthcare insurance capital of the planet if you think about it. But here we are. So
Blackburn kind of stepped in from business, but Republicans do that a lot. John, for what it's worth, he built a little bit of a grassroots beginning. But I have to assume he wants a state office at some point. And I made the point today, if his dumb ass thinks that his handling of the Patrick Lyoya issue is going to get him any support in a statewide vote, Detroit would like to have a fucking word.
I'm sure he's real popular with the Yoopers.
I don't know if any of them give a shit about anything. And I say that not to disparage, because my better half downstairs, her dad's a Yooper. I've never started a political conversation with the man, and I never planned to. But I do know that he told our son at a pretty young and impressionable age that if he would move up north, he would get him a nice Inuit girl as a So we're gonna leave that one and move on.
I don't know. Maybe he knew the Cherokee aren't into that anymore. That's why he had
Who
to move.
knows? Anyway, so let's jump in on what happened Tuesday. Let's give everybody the quick backgrounder here. Let's see. I got several video clips I pulled to show everybody, and John is here, and I've actually got his video, which is great. Good footage. Actually, John's video may make a big difference in the attempt to make shit up and have a bunch of fake charges on activists. John's got a good video that we're going to play in slow motion here in a minute. So the meeting involves a standard meeting involves 3 opportunities to speak. 1, the public can comment on things on the upcoming agenda. So if it's an item that's up for vote, whatever, anything that's not on a hearing, then the second installment is things on a hearing. And the third is open public comment. You can come up and read the fucking encyclopedia. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can't do whatever the fuck you want, because if you say fuck, Mayor Bliss will short circuit and lose her fucking schoolmarm mind. So anyway, my initial remarks on the first two comments. The first one, I didn't plan to come and speak in the first one, but it's inevitable when I get in the room and I hear the activists start to talk about things on the agenda and their perspective, especially our black and brown neighbors here. Like, it gets me to think, and I'm sitting in the room going, yeah, no, that's some bullshit. Like, at one of the meetings, I showed up and found out they were thinking about buying more cruisers for the cops, who, until the new chief, Eric Winstrom, came to town, were riding 1-to-1, one in a vehicle. But he made them double up after they fucking murdered Patrick Lyoya. And I have a feeling he's going to keep them doubled up. And I'm like, why in the fuck during a gas crisis would you buy more Ford Explorer Interceptors?
Why do you need more? I don't understand.
So I got up, I was moved to speak, as they say in church. So anyway, for this one.
Oh, wait, have you been going to the Quaker meetings again, Lucas?
Believe it or not, back before it would have entirely engulfed me in flame, I had darkened the door of a church occasionally. So my 2 initial remarks, I'm going to play those because it sets the stage for John's reaction. In the first set of remarks, I don't say anything about John, but it's important, as he is someone who has accepted a hell of a lot of money from police unions for his campaigns, which really shows where he stands and why he might be silent, right? Like, he's one of the only ones that has taken like that much cash. So the first set of remarks is me addressing the idea that they're going to spend money on training for new recruits at the Grand Valley State University Police Academy or some bullshit. And a lot of people were standing up talking about how they really need to be investing in separating these people from their white supremacist backgrounds. I addressed the more immediate thing that I think of when I think of cops, which is the fucked up psychology of individuals in the profession. So the first clip shows basically my ethos when it comes to examining the police profession. The second one is the first time I took a shot at John O'Connor. And that's the first place in this meeting. Of course, I've been taking shots at him for months, but they've never been the cursing. The worst thing I ever said to that son of a bitch, I'm going to curse him here because I can. This is my fucking space. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. Mayor Bliss doesn't have rules in my fucking podcast. So, and in case you missed the logo, we fucking cuss and drink beer. It's right the fuck there. It's in the fucking corner of the screen. So, I called him a bootlicker once on the microphone, and apparently that's made its way around town.
I'm not going to lie, Lucas. If we were keeping score, though, like, I could tell you this fired up, because if we were keeping score at this point, normally I'm the one, like, throwing fuck shit ass around, like, at points. You have used it to a point where it's like, man, that swear jar is just broke. It's trying to contain the volume of hate, and it just can't. It can't do it.
Matt points out, in any case, probably speaking of Nashville, but in any case, training for current recruits would be great. So here are my first 2 remarks. One about spending money on training and the broken psyche of cops, or people that want to be cops. And then the second is where I speak about there's a building down the road. As a member of the business association in my neighborhood, I nodded on my support for this guy to not redevelop, but to rehab an old historic building. He's going to have 2 different floors. He wants to rent it to 2 different tenants with separate entrances. One goes upstairs, one goes in. There's a lot of fine details to that the absolutely fabulous feedback from the crowd addressed. A lot of people talked about the percentage for the requirement of female and minority contractors, which is 30%. Should be higher. Yes, that's true. I don't know what it takes to do that. And I urge the commission to actually, fucking explain how it works so we all know what we need to do. And then I pointed out that accessible public restrooms isn't a question that we could entertain right then, but that I approved of some of it. But I took some shots at 50% of my representation, that being John O'Connor, in these remarks. So here are those first 2 initial remarks.
It happened again. I wasn't going to speak on the first one. Then dumb things were talked about. Lucas, First Ward, I appreciate the remarks about the lifelong white supremacy problem, but I think there's a much shorter term problem when we're talking about police training funding. No, you can't undo a lifetime of garbage. Doing my best to censor, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
But you really should be focusing on undoing the shorter term, deeply broken, psychological, twisted souls that choose that profession. Most of the police in the United States would at least cheat a red light with their signals, which makes most police bad cops. This privileged abuse of power approach, this wired for bullying, this telling people what to do because you always wanted to, because you got picked on too much when you were little. That is where you should put 92 grand per person in psychological treatment. Because I've been in a lot of places, I've seen a lot of cops. I've had some buddies that worked in prisons, and they have explained this very clearly to me. You're dealing with broken human beings that choose this profession, sometimes because they couldn't hack it as a real soldier. So I don't know if training is going to fix that. And I've had a few great cops I've known. I really have. I really, really have. And I've had a lot of family members talk to me, your great uncle such and such was where? Alabama? Okay, we're done with this conversation. There is a brokenness and a bully mentality that people attracted to that profession bear. And until you're ready to deal with that, you can't train it out of them. It doesn't matter if they're white supremacists or purple supremacists. They are bullies by nature. You have to deal with that. And it's not going to be with shorthand training. I came here with much more diplomacy in my heart tonight. I'm being as nice as I can about it. But this profession attracts trash, okay? And you got to fix that. I don't think yours does. Mine, marketing, attracts smarmy BS artists. Hey, what up? But everybody should go where they're welcome and useful, and it is not welcome and useful for police to be abusive personalities. That's the place to put your money. Okay, Lucas, First Ward, live on Walker. Mr. Reppert and some portion of Mr. O'Connor's conscience are my representatives. This is in my district, 644 Bridge. I'm a member of the Stockbridge Business Association as well, so I was in the room when this was asked for our support, and I nodded and raised my hand in support of the project. I think it's really important for old buildings to get good attention, for them to be rehabbed. All too often, we just walk in and kick over something old and historic. I've seen the elevation sketches and designs. I think this is a really nice treatment for this building. I echo the concerns of some of the folks in this room. You guys all know, because I keep urging you through email to actually talk to people about how anything works. So I'm sure there are elements of what are being asked for by these other folks that are either more difficult and challenging or state-based, possibly county-based. It'd be real cool if you took some time to talk about that in this chamber, which I've been urging you to do in my communications. So I'm not going to demand, but I'm going to say that more than 30% would be great. I'm not going to talk about restrooms because the guy doesn't even know who's going to rent these 2 floors yet. but I would love to see those owners be residents in my neighborhood. I would love to see pricing be appropriate. Whenever I walk to Bridge Street from the house, I pass a whole lot of empty retail that somebody promised somebody would be full and vibrant one day, and it's not. So why is it not? Probably because no one can afford to start a business. So those are balances we need to entertain. I'm convinced that one of my commissioners understands that balance. I haven't been compelled by any communication from the other that he does. But I think there is capacity in this body to do all of these things. And a lot of you have talked to me, and you know my approach is I want it all. I want this guy to get a beautiful building and put some great stuff in it, because I'd rather look at a beautiful building with great stuff in it when I'm having a beer up on the second floor of Harmony Hall than look at a bunch of trashy old stuff that some curmudgeon doesn't want to fix up. But if they're just a curmudgeon, it's their fault. If they're not being helped by the apparatus that we all expect to support us, it's your fault. So I support it. As a member of that business association, as a freelancer, as a resident, and as a supporter, well, a constituent supporter of one of these commissioners, I will support it. But I think the things that this room is talking about are worthy conversations that you need to work harder to invite them into.
Now you got to ask yourself, David, what kind of elected leader, what kind of abject pussy can't take those softball criticisms that I wove into those remarks? And here's the fun part. Everybody knows, everybody's, a fuck ton of people that are on here tonight watching. Everybody knows Lucas shows up with his little red iPad, his little outdated fucking iPad, and reads his main remarks off of his iPad. Everybody knows this. It's on the fucking video. I take shit when I get home. Jesse's always telling me, you should talk with that other hand less. I'm sitting here doing it right now, Woohoo! I look down at that iPad a lot and I read the shit off the iPad. But those two remarks were off the cuff, completely just fucking flow. Yeah. And I'm able to throw a couple of little boink at fucking O'Connor in the middle of it. But those are the things that led him to where we're about to go, to where we end up. But that is, what kind of fucking pansy takes office in the United States of fucking America now, these days, in the past 10 years, and can't take that tiny amount of shit on the mic?
That was relatively. You made clear that you were making small, like you were making jabs, but it was more like with a eyeglass screwdriver. By
the way, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Good to see you. Kelly's one of our Nashville audience folks, and the other Kelly. I've heard worse insults from little kids on the playground. Yeah, you know what? I don't know what would happen if I called John O'Connor a poopy head, because apparently poopy head both fits the demographics of thinking for our mayor and would pass muster in her language rules. So, I don't know. Maybe I should just come up there and maybe that's what I should do with my 3 minutes in the future is, hey, since we're not allowed to curse, I came to list off several thoughts. I've thought about encouraging the whole chamber to yell fudge a lot and see what the fuck she does then. Like, I just, I don't get it. So anyway, here's the next level. And I'm going to be the first to admit, this was a political stunt. You knew it was coming because you and I talked about it ahead of time. The funny part is, for those in Grand Rapids, if you fucking hate my guts, I introduce you to my friend David, the person with a law degree who I bounce all my shit off of when I wonder if I'm right. So basically, poopy, stinky doo-doo head. I love it. I think we should all conclude our remarks from now on. And by the way, you're all poopy, stinky doo-doo heads. Since that's, the infantilization that they throw at us. So David knows, because I bitch at him about it behind the scenes after the fact. And some of you that have been in line next to me, there have been I would call it an epidemic of Christian scripture speakers that have taken over the mic, usually in a successive group of 4 people, to talk about Jesus, read from the Bible, and apply all that logic to women's choice. And lately, that's been a thing. And I keep whispering to people in the room saying, One of these days, I'm going to show up in here with a lineup of every fucking faith in town, and we're going to teach them a little something about giving
If I
time
didn't
to
have a headache,
religious
no,
speech.
you know what? I'm not going to have a headache. I'm just going to continue drinking more of this beer. That's my only solution. Because I also want to point out, Grand Rapids, I live in the center of the buckle of the goddamn Bible Belt, and on top of that, I ain't even Baptist.
Absolutely. Alyssa's here. Alyssa, you're just in time. I'm about to play your clip.
So I mean, to have you, I mean, I don't understand how I live in a city with far worse, like evangelical, charismatic.
Nope. You haven't met Dutch Reformed.
And oh wow, okay, that's the thing I hadn't thought
Believe
about.
it or not, David, there is a breed of Midwestern religious bullshit zealot that is on par with what Kelly references Southern fucking Baptists.
You have you know what it is?
I don't know if the Dutch Reformed are packing away all the sexual abuse and shit like the Southern Baptists have gotten really fucking good at. But
they don't have a massive corporate structure, I'm guessing, like the Southern Baptist Convention does, that can afford to buy out a whole, like, what is, I think right now it's at like 6 city blocks that they're
but David, they don't need a massive corporate culture because they have the Vans and Vosses that all of our buildings are named after, protected by Officer Van Douche on the corner. So, you know, it's
I kind of want to see them put in a ring and fight each other. I mean, I'm really curious what that would look like.
Oh, that would be amazing,
right?
A brainwashed zealot Thunderdome. Maybe we can get into the Deltaplex Arena before they turn it into a warehouse and do that just this once. Anyway, all right. So that was actually funnier than I thought it would be. Sometimes I say shit that I actually have to stop and laugh about, and that's the funny part of it is like. These people have no idea how fucking, fun shit could be. I'm goddamn, nothing like a really skanky bourbon barrel IPA to bring out the fruit flies. All right, so here we go with the stunt, and I don't say this because I know we have at least one here. I absolutely value the presence of the people that participated, but organizing a group of people from other faiths to speak at the commission meeting is a political stunt, and I acknowledge that. I put out the call on multiple progressive Facebook groups in the area. It's high time non-Christians come and speak at the commission in Grand Rapids. Who's in? I got interest and responses from multiple atheists, a couple of folks representing Judaism. I don't know how to describe an enthusiastic, dominating majority of Satanists.
Right. Yeah, there we go.
Who are some of my new best buddies.
I'm a Christian, and I love those guys.
So, and I had a Hindu and a pagan and one more. I'm not done because these people, some of them had a commitment they couldn't make it. We're likely to show up with another set of diverse representation. And the idea is to try to drive home the point. It ain't all Christian. Hail Satan, Black Heart, love it. And I was glad to participate in this stunt, and I am so fucking happy that you were there, Alyssa.
Thank you, Alyssa.
John, it was heroic bringing in those other interfaith leaders. Literally brilliant. Literally the move idea of yours. And so here's the thing. The reporters that I talked to, and I've actually pulled up, both the reports are out on the websites of these two news agencies, so I can't wait to look at that and read it. Both of them that I talked to, and we didn't touch on my religious speaker thing. That wasn't part of this story. The story is John O'Connor, and that's the subject at hand, but we just have to set the stage. So these people don't, the reporters have asked me, like, they don't know what to do about you, do they? The reality is they don't have any idea what to do with a guy that's media and current American politics savvy. 20 years ago, you couldn't say I was American politics savvy. But you know what? The world Donald Trump fucking forged for us, I can play ball in that arena. I can play ball in the loudmouth, tell shit like it is arena. The difference is my side has science, math, facts, and intellect. So fuck you. So basically, we need Trumps on the left.
Yeah.
We need dickheads like me that will shake our fist, speak out, but not use those wordy dirds in front of the mayor and start to rattle people's cage. And that's what I'm fucking here for. And if it leads to me running for office, and it leads to me with a bunch of these fine people voting, and I somehow get into some shit, okay. And you know what I won't do? I won't grab my nuts and slink behind the curtain like fucking John O'Connor when shit hits the fan.
I also want to point out the other nice thing about having leftist Trumps like Lucas is there's someone smart behind him like me holding his fucking leash.
Right. Because there are occasions where I'm like, David, I should say this, right? He's like, well, it's technically completely factually fucking wrong, so don't say that. Like, all right. Or he'll be like, you could say that, but you're going to be a fucking clown if you do. Like, and 50% of the time I tell him, well, fuck you, I'm going to say it anyway. Thank you, John. Thank you so much for the vote of confidence. There's a whole bunch of things that would need to happen for me to vote or for me to run, including winning the lottery. So if anybody can rig that, let me know. Because the problem is, if you're going to beat the Vans and Vosses, you're going to need to be independently wealthy outside the system. Well, and I've decided that if I can pull in like $250,000 in a lucky lottery roll one day, I'm going to quit doing everything else and run for office and fuck this place up. And I mean that in a good way before all the people that think spray painting in the public median in front of someone's house is vandalism, before you say, oh, he's going to fuck it up. No, I mean literally like what I'm doing right now. I'm going to talk shit to you that you're not ready for, and you're going to have to deal with it. Anyway, so let's go back into the clips. This is the amazing, wonderful, fucking
I'll be his chief of staff.
Fantastic. Fucking amazing group of people that showed up. I had like 8 people lined up. A lot of people had issues. People have life. They've got to deal with life. Somebody, like their kid had an accident and they had to go and check on them in the hospital. There's all kinds of shit, right? But I had 3 glorious, wonderful, beautiful Church of Satan speakers and 1 person representing Judaism. And I'm going to show you their clips back to back, clips of their speeches back to back right now.
A slight change of topic here from everything else so far tonight. I'm a minister with the Satanic Temple, and I'm head of a congregation based primarily in West Michigan. Our congregation has seen a massive influx of individuals seeking membership or people seeking to become our allies and asking how they can support us and work with us. A common theme among all of these individuals has been a rejection of the concept that any religion should guide decisions made by our government, regardless of whether it is a national Congress or a local school board. I am here tonight representing the will of those people and asking that the Grand Rapids City Commission make their decisions based on what is best for our community instead of what a certain religious group says is right based on their personal interpretations of their individual religious texts.
I am a Grand Rapids native and lifelong Kent County resident. I currently reside on the southwest quadrant. It is an honor to be here today to discuss secularity as a non-theistic Satanist and a minister of the Satanic Temple of West Michigan.
Oh, sir, please do not interrupt somebody when they're speaking. I'm serious. Do not. He has a right to be heard without being interrupted. Mr.
As always, be quiet. Let's listen.
I am also an ordained minister of the Satanic Temple, West Michigan. I would like to speak briefly on the Satanic Temple's beliefs on abortion and why we consider it a right for all people with the capacity to become pregnant. As a Satanist, we have 7 tenets that we do our best to adhere to that lead us to exemplify compassion, justice, autonomy, freedom, the pursuit of knowledge, accountability, and nobility.
I am a religious person, in case the kippah did not tip you off. I'm a proud religious person. I grew up in Holland, which is even more religious. I studied religion in undergrad. I almost went on to get my master's in divinity, and maybe I will in the future. I have seen the good that religion can do, but more and more I've seen the ugly side of religion. More specifically, the problems that arise when it is coupled with government power.
All right, I'm going to interject right at this point. As an Episcopalian, I would like to point out to everyone, we built this shit and we said religious freedom, right? We put that very clearly in the damn text, right? That's what we did. Washington, Jefferson, all of them, right? That's all us. That's all us. That shit was what we were talking about. Let's go do more of that shit. I love that.
All right. So for those who don't understand why I'm laughing, first of all, when we play a clip, we are both muted and reduced to tiny little windows at the bottom of the screen, and all we have to see of each other is our red faces while we laugh. And I'm fucking sorry, but every goddamn... I was sitting in Brewery Vivant putting these clips together tonight, eating my dinner, almost choking on my food, because John, who is here watching, and he's one of his videos will be in here later, his Hail Satan in the middle of that shit. That night, it almost made me fall off the wall laughing, and I was waiting on the wall behind these speakers. And at the fucking dinner table tonight, I almost choked on my food, and over here, I was folded over on my desk laughing, because what the fuck, that was fucking brilliant. That humor of the top form, sir.
John, you get the highest honor that I can possibly offer, which is the golf clap. You have received the golf clap.
Right. And to answer Nashville Kelly's question, I'm so lost. Why are the Satanists speaking? Cliff Notes Kelly. Fundamentalist Christian speakers have been spending weeks speaking at the city meetings against abortion and reading scripture. So I decided it was time to balance the scales. That's the thing. And John, you should be proud of that Hail Satan, because holy shit, man. So that was basically the stunt that was set up. And I'm not going to lie to you. And I looked right at John O'Connor when all this was going down. I looked straight at him and just grinned at him because I knew this was bothering him and so many other people. The other thing that was fun to watch is the Christian speakers that normally take over the meeting. One of them was just like all the fuck in, praying like his life depended on it the whole time. The other one was real nervous. He looks like he's about 12, but has the beard of an 80-year-old man. And he was sitting there like his knees are going. He's fucking vibrating in his seat. It was so fucking funny to watch those Christian guys losing their fucking minds because the brainwashing indoctrination of their horse shit religion tells them that it's likely the building is going to fucking, get hit by a meteor because these people dared to speak. And here's the thing that I was surprised. It takes a lot to fucking surprise me. I know we have one of the folks here. I don't know how many others might be watching or may watch this later, but the speakers from the Church of Satan stuck to the very surprising things that people don't assume about the Church of Satan. I really appreciated that. I appreciated the fact that they were like, you know what? Everybody thinks we're weirdos, but here's the normal, perfectly reasonable shit that we actually stand for that you should fucking think about for fucking 5 seconds.
Yep.
And, I'm not... Sorry. Satanic Temple. Alyssa's correcting me, and I'm an ignoramus about it, so I don't know the differences. I will try to do my best and say Satanic Temple. But...
listen, again,
it's so much better of an ethos than most religions I've come in contact with. I'm just going to say
I just want to point out, again, as an Episcopalian, anyone who pisses in charismatic coffee is on my good list, man. You go for it. You go for it. Catholic Light has your back. In fact, right now, obviously, now that I'm on my fourth, you see our other nickname, the Whiskey Palians.
Jesus. See, we all say Jesus. Yeah, no worries. Just want to make sure people know if they're curious. Definitely some big differences. Absolutely. So, Satanic Temple.
Yes.
Kelly, Christian Satanists, like their souls roasted over fire before they eat them. So scary. All right. So, before I play my clip, which was my pre-planned remarks that were to align with these religious speakers, a little bit about, what the fuck happened to Lucas that made him this way. So I was a band nerd.
We don't have that much time, dude.
No. This is the Cliff Notes version. I was a band nerd.
I'm going to time you.
All right. We ate lunch at the picnic tables outside the school courtyard. I ate lunch at a table I didn't realize was mostly Jewish kids. It was almost Easter. The Jewish kids start talking about these posters that are on the wall in our high school, rural Tennessee high school. What are you going to do about those posters? I don't know. They're fucking crazy. That's not fair. We don't like that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. One time at band camp. Absolutely. This is a one time at band camp story, John.
Thank you.
So I start to key in because I have a pretty deep sense of like, that's not fair. Someone should stand up. My grandmother probably gave me this sense of fairness. There was just this fucking wired thing. My Southern Democratic newspaper editor grandmother kind of gave me this sense of like, shit's not fair for everybody, and people that can speak up and stand up should. And so I do. And so I heard these kids talking.
What's wrong with our grandmothers in the South? I don't understand.
Man, Granny's got some weight.
Here's the thing. For liberals, it's always the grandmother. For conservatives, it's always grandpappy who
that ought to tell you some shit right there.
Couldn't take down the battle flag.
All right, so I asked these kids, like, wait, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, the Christian club has put up Easter posters on the school wall that say he is risen and other shit. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, my incredibly amateur teenage examination of the First Amendment says that's not quite kosher, if you will. So I decide, what is my hotshot ass going to do? I'm going to stay after school and rip them all down and shove them in the fucking trash can. And that's what I did. Then my relationship with the police was forged. The school resource officer, Bill Kennedy in Rutherford County, Tennessee, which is important to mention because A, somehow he thinks he's a Democrat, and B, he ran and lost for sheriff.
It's also, for clarification for our Michigan friends, Rutherford County is a suburb of Nashville.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons why people moving here who are like, oh, I just want to move outside the county, like Davidson County, which is Nashville, line. I'm like, so are you okay with white hoods and burning crosses?
Yeah, it's where I grew up. It's where I went to high school. It's where I went to college. Middle Tennessee State University is based there. It's the only reason Murfreesboro fucking exists.
Pretty much.
So, all right. So Bill Kennedy pulls me off in a side meeting. He's like, so a lot's going on and you're part of it. Okay, great. What's the problem? Well, you tore the posters down and threw them in the trash. You're right. I did that. They were against the Constitution of the United States. Good luck charging me. What else you got? Well, somebody spray painted some satanic shit on the back of one of the buildings. That's not me. You need to look elsewhere. I'm out. I'm missing math class and I'm failing algebra. Bye. And I walked out on that motherfucker. That was the beginning of my understanding of my relationship with the cops. Number one, petty shit that they'll waste your time with and try to railroad. Number two, know your rights, tell them what the fuck is going on. Number three, I got away with it because I'm fucking white. And from then on, 16 years old forward, that was how my relationship with cops was forged. Years later, we would have the debate that the whole fucking South had about sticking the 10 Commandments in the fucking courthouse. I showed up with a sign. This was post 9/11.
I want to point this out. Tennessee actually did not have that debate. Thank you very much, Tennessee State Supreme Court.
The Tennessee State Capitol didn't have that debate, but it still has a bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest in it. So,
yeah, that's not the Supreme Court.
True. Fair enough.
Kelly
who survived East Nashville. I'm still here. Yeah, Kelly grew up in East Nashville.
That's a native.
Yeah,
that's a native.
Kelly's hard and street forged. So, all right. So here's the deal.
Yeah.
We have the fight. I'm in college. It's post 9/11. We have the fight about the 10 Commandments in the courthouse. Since it's post 9/11, I bring a sign that's got a Bible on one side and burning twin towers on the other side. It says, "This leads to this." And some very angry redneck Christians tore the sign out of my hand and ripped it up. But I also spoke to the county commission that night, and I delivered my first remarks in a public, open meeting in a government setting. And I spoke to exactly the shit that I tried to queue up at the Grand Rapids Commission this time. So that's where this comes from, and that's why I came in with all these folks. And here's my remarks, which were pre-written on diversity and religion.
Before you kick it off, though,
John,
I want to point out that Lucas has probably given the shortest speech that he's ever given in his entire life. It's under 5 minutes.
No, because the commission limits you to 3. So
just now, like your whole speech of what makes Lucas.
Yeah, right.
It's under 5 minutes. That was impressive.
It is impressive. And there's a whole separate text document that I keep on my computer of all the shit I've had to cut from my remarks for the past few months just to make it to 3 minutes. And maybe one of these days it'll turn into, I don't know, a memoir. Anyway, here's how I capped off our religious speakers and the next jabs at John that got him all fired up to tell me to fuck off.
Oh, this will be good.
Still Lucas, still First Ward. I brought a bunch of pearls in case the previous demonstration of religious diversity bothers anyone. They're up here. You can clutch them. I brought speakers that you just saw that represent a small cross-section of the diversity of Grand Rapids when it comes to faith or lack thereof. We organized this in just a few days. Our pagan and Hindu folks were unable to make it, but they promised to be here next time. So why did we do this? The corrupt and illegitimate Supreme Court has sided with Christian cultists in their pursuit of the subjugation of women and whoever they come for next. So now was the time. And after so many of these meetings in this chamber have been hijacked by Christian rhetoric and scripture, and meetings have been opened with Christian prayer, it seemed appropriate to leverage the equal time that we've been promised by the leaders. Those are the two options available constitutionally for religious speech, all or nothing. As leaders, you can either ban religious speech and eliminate it from your agenda, or you have to encourage, welcome, and allow it all. The question you have to ask yourself is, how much time do you want to waste on the eventuality that we can get every faith to show up and claim their 3 minutes? Or worse, will you cowardly adjourn a meeting before one of them can speak, prohibiting them the opportunity for equal respect under the law? Listen to the words. This government could make this chamber entirely secular, eliminate the corny, nationalistic grade school recitation of the pledge with its mention of the Christian God, and require all public comments which venture into faith speech to be germane to city business as you do with other commentary. For many of us, a doggedly secular government is the only appropriate choice for every reason imaginable. The Constitution is on your side if you have the guts to agree with us, so I urge you to consider it. I've been trying to find my way forward with reconciliation with all of you, and I appreciate the bridge-building meetings and discussions that I've had with many. I'm still hoping that Commissioners O'Connor, Usazi, and Lanier will engage with me like I've been asking for over a year now, even before the unforgivable murder of Patrick Lyoya. To that end, I'm trying to keep these remarks a bit more diplomatic, you may have noticed. And I will simply respond to the state of affairs for women in this backward nation with some Everlast lyrics like a good little heathen Gen X kid should. She heads for the clinic and she gets some static walking through the door. They call her a killer, they call her a sinner, and they call her a whore. God forbid you ever have to walk a mile in her shoes, because then you really might know what it's like to have to choose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe you not to use the lyrics.
David at the last minute, very close to the time for the meeting. Like, I think the lyrics are a circus stunt. I'm like, really? The 90s Everlast lyrics are the problem you have with these remarks? The pearls were not the circus antic that you would cite? So, for those that missed it, thank you, John. Everlast has never been treated with such respect. You're right. And you know what? That wasn't part of the plan until Saturday, when I was in my backyard doing some work, making a platform of tiles to park our grill on. I had a 90s hits playlist blasting at me from the garage. And I'm sitting there grooving along, cutting off his balls. And you might know how to choose. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, I broke out my phone and I made a note. There's this fucking gnat again. Hold on. There we go. I just had to visualize it as John. All right. O'Connor, to be clear. I wrote that down on my phone, like include Everlast lyrics in your remarks. I didn't write those remarks until like Monday, maybe Tuesday morning. David, you can disagree. I think you just don't like the Gen X piece of it. The pearls were so good. So the pearl thing came along. The pearls have been a theme. I have talked about pearl clutchers in that chamber a lot of times.
John, I want to clarify. Lucas and the act of clutching pearls is very much a touchstone.
It really is. That one actually goes back to Nashville. I used the pearl gag in Nashville in one of the handouts that I put out. And like, this is why I brought up the fact that
I remember that. Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
So the shortest version of the story is the mayor of Nashville, female mayor, fucking her bodyguard, got caught. It went to the media. They ran her out of office. Initially, the whole buzz was, "Oh my God, there's $178,000 in or 85,000. I don't know, a lot of fucking overtime. It might all be so he could go with her and be fucking her places." Okay, maybe that's not okay, but we don't really know because we haven't done any homework. But instead, they run her out of office. She pays 35 grand. We lose a perfectly legitimate, great female mayor, and the TBI starts an investigation, and the council, they start the proceedings for a censure vote.
After she already resigned, by the way.
Right, yeah. Which is basically like a group in the government saying, you did bad, shame on you, and they write it down and they vote on it and then they put it out there and it's a part of the record. Who the fuck cares? She's gone. But not only did they insist on continuing to pursue that avenue, she was investigated and found out, oh wait, there's only $1,200 in overtime that was even remotely questionable. So not only did she overplead, overpay, we had $2 million in special elections because the city of Nashville and its surrounding influence of rednecks needed to clutch their fucking pearls. Well, so the night that they voted on the censure, I dropped off a flyer that had pearl loops printed on the side with black thumb spaces that said "clutch here." Pearl clutching is indeed a touchstone, David. You're right.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I mean generally what you said, because you ran it past me first. Honestly, I don't understand because I'm coming at this from a different perspective. I'm not where you are. Nashville has one of the largest Muslim populations per capita of any city in the United States. So long ago, again, in order to appease the charismatics, we banished religion from the council chamber because God knows they didn't want to hear an imam give the invocation. Or worse yet, the rabbi from Beth Israel. So for those of you who don't, again, this is a Nashville thing. Beth Israel is the Reformed temple in Nashville, and it is very, very, very reform.
Yeah. So there you have the setup. Now, every single time since Patrick Lyoya's murder by Christopher Schur, there have been people that show up at the microphone and they say not nice things to the leadership of the city. Sometimes they curse, they get called down, or they get their mic muted, or whatever. There's lots of options. I pulled one of them out just because I thought it was particularly fun, because it also uses the terminology I use to refer to John, which apparently he's remained butthurt enough about that I hear from fellow members of the Grand Rapids Chamber. You called John O'Connor a bootlicker. Like, yeah, I did. Well, if you said that to me, I wouldn't let you get away with it. What do you mean? Well, I would say something back to you. Well, he sure hasn't had anything the fuck to say until this Tuesday. So here's one of my favorite clips of a lot of the speakers. There are a lot of great. I mean, you should always, if you're out there, I mean, just the entertainment value of the human condition. If you don't give a fuck about the issues, Grand Rapids Commission meetings right now are, better than fucking WWE. I mean,
you still all are meth, dude.
I know.
There's no meth left.
So here's a short clip to tee up. Here's a short clip to tee up the resistance a little bit.
That I believe we deserve better leaders. We deserve better than this group of greedy, heartless cowards. And we certainly deserve a better mayor than Miss Bootlicker Barbie over here.
And
coming in hot.
Yeah, man. And so, none of that is obscene and none of it's technically wrong. It's the shit that they're taking from people and they're tired of it. Well, if they're tired of it, they need to get better at being leaders and politicians.
And I'll just say this real quick. And again, to all our Michigan viewers, I'm saying this from a national perspective, and I apologize if that's becoming old and rote. But I'm trying to understand this from an outsider's perspective. So, looking at this from my perspective, we don't have a city manager. We have a unified county city government that governs everything for as far as the eye can see. It makes things, on one hand, a lot easier.
Nashville is a strong mayor model.
Yeah, right.
Grand Rapids is a weak mayor model. If you ever do your research on government construction,
I want to point
and
out
in Nashville, the vice mayor runs the committee, the council meeting.
Yeah.
And the mayor in Grand Rapids runs the council, the commission.
I just want to point out we are the first strong mayor system in the United States. No, I mean,
isn't it the first metro? I mean,
it's the first
Nashville,
metro. It's the first metro, the first strong mayor.
Nashville created the model that even like Chicago came late to.
Yeah, everyone came late to. But I mean, the
put that in your boots and smoke it.
There we go. Oh, don't smoke it too hard. Anyway,
I mean, it depends on what it is. Smoke it real fucking hard if you need to. It's a Friday night,
right? But I mean, the thing that shocks me is the idea that you cannot have an accountable executive present in the chamber. Like even the idea like that the vice mayor would not be able to be accountable immediately. Right? They're in charge of stuff.
Explain what you mean there.
I mean, the fact that there is a mayor of Grand Rapids.
Yes. In the chamber.
In the chamber, who is not really can do anything.
Well, she votes. It's a 7-person body with her included.
But I mean, like
it's like Kamala Harris sitting in on the Senate, except that only happens sometimes.
But I mean, like she doesn't create. None of them are creating policy. None of them are creating ordinances. None of them are creating anything. That's the job of your city manager, isn't it?
What? No. They have legislation and they do a whole fucking day. Tuesday is a whole fucking day. You can watch on YouTube all fucking day. There are committees. They vote on other things. Like there's a whole system to it, and I don't want to get lost in those weeds. But I don't think her presence is illegitimate. I just think her job performance is fucking dog shit. That's basically
again. I don't know. At least where I'm from, if we want to change policy, then Cooper has to stand in front of all of us and get his shit kicked in on a regular basis. I mean, he does on a regular basis. That's part of being mayor of Nashville is like going out in the street and everyone absolutely fucking hating you. Absolutely, including people who voted for you.
Yeah,
and that's actually pretty much par for the course.
Having the public discourse and the media tear it a new asshole. Having your opponents, your usually conservative in his case, opponents in the city council chamber tear it a new asshole. 1,300 fucking amendments later, and maybe it passes. And there's a certain order of readings. Anyway,
I mean, like I guess I'm used to the idea of Cooper is in regular basis, and we can because he's elected. Right, he has to actually stand before us.
Here, the mayor is elected. The city manager is not elected, appointed by the commission, and he still takes a beating. And he goddamn should for more than $200,000.
But I mean, the commissioner doesn't have to show up to the council meetings. The mayor the mayor actually can be compelled to be like, hey.
So the commissioner has a seat at the table, and when he can't make it, the deputy sits in. Here.
Okay, well,
and she was sitting in Tuesday night, as was the deputy for the city attorney. So there's a slot for that department.
All right, I guess I can understand that.
One of the proposals I made is that there should be a seat up there for the chief of police when he shows up, because if he's going to be in the fucking room, he needs to have to take the shit from the dais.
I guess the idea is that I'm not used to the idea of there being any sort of figurehead person involved in this entire thing.
Yeah, well, it is
like the mayor is the mayor. If something goes wrong, it's the mayor.
Let's roll people through the video, because there are questions. There are questions about what happened, and I think they're going to be answered.
Cooper does suck, Kelly. You are quite correct, but only because he has the legs of a jellyfish
and the eyebrows of 2 caterpillars glued to a face. But I still think I like the guy. I really like. Anyway,
I do. But I mean, legs of jellyfish.
So here we are. This is what touched off the shit. We are finally at the part of the movie where we reach the climax of what the fuck happened. So this next speaker is representing the voice for the badge. Just roll that around in your mouth for a second. Let it taste like a dick that was recently pried out of an anus. get a good feel for that mouth texture. Voice for the badge. There's actually an organization in Grand Rapids who thinks that the police aren't already represented enough and need an organization called Voice for the Badge. I mean, you might as well pull someone else's rectum out, prolapse it into your own throat, and gargle it with vinegar. That's the feeling that comes into my head when I think of an organization called Voice
Just play the clip.
for the Badge.
Shut up and play the clip. I'm tired of you narrating. This is awful.
So this bitch is not only from Voice for the Badge, but she's a serious Bible thumper, and she's the one that set off the conflict.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a war going on in our culture. It is good versus evil, right against wrong. We are living in an age of deception and lies. My Bible says there would come a day when there would be those that call evil good and good evil. I was deeply troubled as I watched 70 pastors come together and demand justice, blaming a system and not the bad behavior, and threatening to withhold their votes to those in political arena unless their demands were met, yet never offering to help mend the relationship between our community and our police. No mercy, no grace for Officer Chris Scher. At that moment, I was reminded of the prophet Elijah.
Hold this.
One man of God who stood against the 450 false prophets of Baal.
Ma'am, can you stop?
One man.
Okay, hold on a second. Those of you interrupting, I'm asking you to leave. You clearly can't sit and listen without interrupting someone speaking. So those of you who are just disruptive, I'm going to ask you to leave. You know who you are. I'm in the line, the one that's continuing to scream in the white shirt in the front here. I'm asking you to leave, and then I will give you your time back.
All right. So,
all right. So I want to point something out that annoys me on a religious level when people start talking like this, which is when you do stuff like this. You're saying, okay, this is the thing that blows my mind. Because religiously speaking, it's an act of charity to offer something that someone else won't give, right? Like freaking mercy, right? If you didn't give me any mercy, but I'm going to give you mercy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, on another level, if you won't give mercy, you don't have any right to expect it in return. So when an officer doesn't offer some level of mercy to an unarmed man on his face on the ground and decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bust a cap in that man. There is it's an area, again, religiously speaking, where I sometimes get into conflict with the Episcopal Church of the United States of America, which is, the Archbishop constantly preaches a message of absolute love. Love must win. And I agree with that 90%. The 10% that I don't agree with is
murdering cops and Trumpers.
Right? I mean, I'm kind of like, listen, dude, these guys are trying to kill us.
Fuck the mercy in that case. All right, so here's the deal. That thing that you saw developing there, where the mayor, see, the inevitable infinite loop of Grand Rapids Commission meetings, which is the most ridiculous part of this equation. There are rules. The mayor just doesn't understand when to enforce those rules, and when the enforcement or admonishment is more of a disruption than the act of disruption was in the first fucking place. And she calls out people who respond in affirmatives, like John's aforementioned "Hail Satan." That could have just been ignored. It wouldn't have been a thing, but she had to stop and talk about it. So there's a lot going on there. But now we're at the point where we will cut to the video of what that stoppage and that admonishment evolved into, and the subsequent police escalation. First, you have Bliss in the chamber verbally escalating by having petty bullshit exchanges with people who are disruptive. Now, I'm not going to drop an opinion on whether they should say anything or not. I consider that part of my role as a white guy, to just stand aside and quietly let them do must as they do. However, her dumbass likes to highlight it, stop everything, and fucking deal with it in a way that completely defeats the point.
She literally did what any like first or second grade teacher should know. Ironically, your mayor would probably have done better at this point. About, you know, any first or second grade teacher knows you don't point out the disruptor.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic fucking skill. I don't get it, but here's what happened shortly after that. I hope we get to hear Kai say, "Now your meeting is disrupted, you dumb bitch." Yeah, I think that might be in here. This is John's clip. It's been making its way around. I'm going to play this clip. It picks up from the point that the vocal demonstrators are challenging the mayor's insistence on stopping meetings based on small interruptions and creating giant interruptions, which in this case devolved into the ejection of people, which is part of the rules. But the Grand Rapids PD decide to escalate, and there is there's a repeat cut at the end in slow motion, which we will address the details of after we watch this particular clip. So here we go.
Stay as long as you want. Stay as long as you want. Fuck you! Stay wherever you want. Fuck you! 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 Now your fucking meeting's disrupted, you stupid bitch! You should have just been fucking quiet! You should have just shut the fuck up and listen! But instead, you decided to disrupt the fucking meeting and not let you get hurt. You want to continue to shut me the fuck up? This is what the fuck you're going to hear. Fuck you, Mayor Bliss. Fuck you, Mayor Bliss. Fuck you, Mayor Bliss. Fuck 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 Mayor Bliss. Cool. No need for violence. We'll be alright. No, hey. Yeah. Whatever. Whoa. I'm just walking here. Whoa. No need to put our hands on anybody.
I don't trust you. That's our purpose. And I did not try to trust you.
Hey, my friends, just a heads. We're in a vulnerable spot at the moment.
Wow. Give me the cuss. Look how many it takes. The signs are coming out. You see how many of you it takes to repress free speech? Do you see how many of you? Do you really think that your job? Don't fucking touch it.
Whoa.
Do you really think that your job?
Okay.
Hey, listen, I know you're going to have your own commentary. I'm going to chime in here because
I was going to ask you to go first as the relatively, I think that's the first time you've seen that.
No, that's not the first time I've seen it.
Okay. You are the lawyer in the room, so I was going to let you go first.
So, I mean, here's the thing that pisses me off about this. They have left the chamber They could have closed the door to the chamber. They're like, there.
Oh, no. According to the mayor, closing the door to the chamber is against the law. I don't think that's possibly correct, but that would just be her sucking at her job, and we already know that's a standard issue.
No, I mean that's not against the law at all. Closing the door to the chamber is not at all illegal under Michigan. I can guarantee you, I don't even know the Michigan code annotated, and I can pretty much guarantee you it's not against the law. I don't
MCL,
even know the
MCL chump. It's Michigan code of law. Anyway,
no, well,
I feel you.
it's always the code annotated.
Whatever. I'm just fucking with you.
That's how we always refer to it in law. It's always the code annotated. And I'm pretty sure I'd be willing to bet good money, like a whole paycheck, that there's no law in the city of Grand Rapids that says they can't close the door.
Probably not. And in Nashville, the door was always closed. It was an unlocked double wood nyet. But also in Nashville, there's, a metal detector and a tray that you put your shit in. And in Grand Rapids, you can just walk in with whatever the fuck.
Well, I mean, that's kind of stupid. But anyway, back to the point. So, I mean, you could have, there were so many opportunities to not escalate this issue.
Well, you ready for the best part, David?
Hold on. I'm not done. They were and here's the thing that pisses me off the most. They were withdrawing from the situation, which under law, if you're withdrawing, then you're not liable for any sort of escalation.
Yeah.
There's no reason to escalate further if you're withdrawing.
Yeah. So the two things that you're going to love, David, I don't know which one of them is going to make you break out the cigarette quicker.
I'm already smoking one, so I mean, go for it. I mean, I may have to.
In the frame of video that you saw, 3 feet to the left, you want to guess which officer the Grand Rapids Police Department was present?
Oh, you got to be shitting me.
I'm not shitting you. The fucking chief of police was in the center of that space. The brand new.
That wasn't who I was going to pick, but sure, why not? I'll roll with that.
Yeah. So the brand new chief of police has this level of control of his forces.
This is my okay. So
now I have it on good authority. Hold on, real quick. I want to qualify that. I have it on good authority that he's having the same issues the rest of our leadership has. His dick is being tucked by the police union.
I want to come back to something that
real quick. While you say that, I want to put John on a quick quest. Yeah. I did not see the Chief's quote, John. If you want to go grab it and paste it, we will put it on screen. Go ahead, David.
So this is one of the things that tweaks me about this entire situation with the relationship with the union. And I know we said we weren't going to go deep into this, but I mean, it is constantly astonishing to me that you have a situation in which the police act as almost their own criminal element. There's this quote. There's this quote that the police that I keep on hearing from pro police blogs and pro cop groups, which is we are dogs protecting sheep from wolves.
Fuck that bullshit. Yeah, right.
And the thing that pisses me off is as I look at the situation, I'm like, no, motherfuckers, you're the goddamn wolves. There are wolves. You are other wolves. The only difference is my tax dollars go to pay for you to be wolf. It's absolutely astonishing that they're withdrawing. They are no longer a threat. They are no longer a threat to the group inside the council chamber. They are no longer a threat to anyone in the hallway. They are no longer a threat to anyone. They are withdrawing from the situation. They are trying to get on the elevator and go away. And you know what? Honestly, from a peacekeeping perspective, and again, I'm not going to harp here right now about the whole difference between peacekeeping and peace enforcement, but from a peacekeeping perspective, that's exactly what you want to have happen.
Right.
Like from a peacekeeping perspective, you want the aggressive party. From your perspective, we can argue about that all day long. But I mean, from your perspective, if they were the aggressive party, they are withdrawing. They are no longer engaging with the thing that you were trying to protect.
Right.
And I don't understand why GRPD felt the need to even show up. Other than
so
in the door, like they could have stood in the door. I mean, if the mayor was that concerned, they could have stood in the door and just stood there, and it would have still been better than this bullshit that they did, which was to go and confront and engage already excitable people who are leaving.
Okay, hold on. I don't know. I'm going to explain it to you, and it might be positive or negative. Almost all the cops in that space were hidden in other side rooms until the problem arose.
Are you shitting me?
I'm not shitting you. They are secret goon squad tactical suit. I'm not shitting you. They are not
just
visible.
Throwing shit at this point. I'm just
they are
throwing
not
shit.
present.
What the fuck?
They are hidden around the corners and in the nooks and crannies until people pop off.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Let me describe to you the limp dick bizarre security apparatus of the Grand Rapids City Hall. When you arrive at a commission meeting, if you come from the plaza, I think you can walk into the first floor of the City Hall.
What the fuck?
If you're like me,
fuck.
I know. If you're like me and you park in the garage or walk in from the street level, you go into a lobby, you take an elevator up one floor, leave that elevator, go around the corner to another set of elevators, and in the process, you pass an Allied Security rent-a-cop pansy that couldn't hack it in real military law.
So for our Grand Rapids viewers who might be tuning in for the first time, I have a giant metaphysical hard-on for the difference between peacekeeping and peace enforcement.
Right.
It is huge. It is gigantic. You can see it from space.
It's a frequent diatribe that we try to only pre-schedule because it tends to take over all the oxygen.
Right.
So then you get on that elevator, David. You go up to the 9th floor where the City Hall chamber is for meetings. In the hallway, you might encounter another rent-a-cop in a polo shirt. Now that shit's been getting a little bit wild in meetings, the commission meeting room has a couple of other rent-a-cop goons in the back row. They weren't there before all this shit. I can fucking attest to that because I came in, never saw them.
Listen, it doesn't matter.
No, hold on. Wait. It's important. The front corners of the room have Grand Rapids police officers, one of which was this bitch that decided to be Miss Badass and attack a trans person who did nothing.
I'm so glad I kept a reserve beer.
But in the back rooms, hiding in the baseboards, jacked up in the closet where no one can see until they need them, are a bunch of them in like little full body mechanics flight suit fucking bullshit where they can deploy them when shit hits the fan. Which is one of the most weird, creepy, dishonest, Russian, fucked up, weird, bizarre tactics. Now, full disclosure, because not everybody watching right now is going to like what I'm about to say. In my suggestions for better organization and process, I told the elected leaders the rent-a-cops need to go. There's nothing stupider than turning all this over to the rent-a-cops. And Kelly, to answer your question, why do you have to say a trans person, though? Because I want people to understand the people that are getting bullied by the GRPD. It's not big fat fucking white guys.
This is true.
It's other kinds of people that they view as less people than me. That's why I brought that up.
They didn't target anyone else. They literally targeted, like, there was a whole group of people there.
Right.
They could have targeted any one of them. The only person that they targeted was at the beginning was that trans person.
They're seeking people who they can other. And it's part of their violence construct, and it's not okay. And so it was worth mentioning that. So they don't whip out the real cops until shit goes down. And what I've suggested to them is they really need to get rid of the fucking rent-a-cops. They need to be honest about what they're doing. If they're going to have 6 cops on site, those cops need to be the ones running the building. I told them the last place that you should encounter a low-rent fucking cop not cop, a low rent private security would be the lobby. That's it.
Why does a civic building even have private security?
Well, dude, Metro does it at the security check-in. It's private.
And
the chamber, it's all cops in Nashville, which is what it fucking should be everywhere.
For the check. Oh, yeah.
Remember, David, the same agency works security in the Metro Courthouse in Nashville,
I know.
who also lost a laptop containing all the voter data a few years ago.
Yeah. I'm remembering
those fucking geniuses. That's the kind of people that get government contracts.
It's coming back to me.
All right, so here we are now at the scene. Now that we understand what went down the hallway and the thuggish goon response that the GRPD employed, which is their nature, which is the whole fucking reason that everybody is there and pissed off. Now we come to John O'Connor's manbaby unhinged tantrum as he storms out of the meeting. So what you're going to see here is an enhanced audio cut of the city's official broadcast of the meeting. I didn't even realize what he fucking said to me until I watched it back.
I don't wonder, why was he before we do this? Why was he targeting you? I don't really
because I've been on his ass for months, and because I spoke to him. You saw the remarks I played earlier. So he's decided that I guess I'm the biggest target. I mean, physically, I'm one of the biggest targets, but I'm the biggest target. You know,
man, the harpoons.
Right. So he's Ahab, I'm his whale, and he decided that he could do exactly the fuck what the mayor has told people not to do. So you're going to see this. It's got some subtitling so you can clearly understand what was said. I'm going to reiterate that. But this is O'Connor's full unfiltered tantrum. And this is after the shit went down that you just saw. Several people like me had a camera out trying to document things. When I was in the hallway with my own attempt to document the footage, there was one of the private security dickheads in my face, and he actually made physical contact. His chest touched my chest, and I looked at him like pro wrestler distance, and I said, you need to understand that you work for a private corporation. I can sue the shit out of you, and you'll never work again, so you probably need to step away. And he stepped away. And then I came back in the room, and like many shocked and frustrated attendees, I had words for the dais.
Itself refuses to take hold of the truth.
Great job, guys. Good work.
Ma'am, hold on. Hold on.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Done with this shit.
So this is the clip that's now been heard around the Grand Rapids world. Here's the full statement that I made to him, which is really funny to those that find it out. Like both of the news folks have chuckled at the fact that I didn't hear him say "fuck off, Lucas," because I was also speaking, but you can't pick it up because I don't have a mic.
Right.
I just witnessed the bullshit that we saw in the hallway. I walked back into the chamber and went to take my seat. And while I was walking up the center aisle, I looked directly at the mayor and I said, "Great job, guys." Then I looked at him because of the history of 9 months that we've discussed and documented in this broadcast. And I said, "Thanks a lot, John. Thanks for helping out," because he's not doing jack fuck. Then I said, "Why don't you go have a whiskey?" Which was another jab at his business. At the same time, he said, "Fuck off, Lucas. Jesus Christ. Stomp, stomp, stomp. I'm done with this shit. Stomp, stomp, stomp."
I'm sure he is.
He needs to be done with this shit and fucking resign is what he needs to do. Kelly says that needs to go national. It's funny you mentioned that because it's all in the inboxes of every national news organization right now.
Yeah.
So... And also,
David, on the note, I would really like both of us to be on Ari Melver. I would love that. I would love that so much. I want to go into Ari Melver. The person who my mom thinks is too radical. I want to go onto his show.
David, why does your penis have MC tattooed on it? Well, because when I have a boner, it has MSNBC tattooed on it. So basically, also, Kelly, to address your national thing, it came to my mind that since we, the people, when we sit in the chamber, are threatened at the beginning of the meeting by the mayor with the possibility of a misdemeanor for disturbing the peace by disrupting the meeting, I decided to go look up all those laws, and I contacted Grand Rapids Police on Wednesday, and I asked if I could file charges against John O'Connor as a citizen, the person that he directed his disruption to. Can I file charges for him breaking this ordinance in our city that we're all told if we break, we're going to potentially risk a misdemeanor? Predictably, GRPD declined. So they said I should approach the city attorney's office, which for those of you that have never watched one of these meetings or don't live in Grand Rapids, the city attorney, so I would like the city attorney if she were like one of my friend's grandmas at like a cookout in a predominantly African-American neighborhood, because her general demeanor is that of a slow-moving, lazy old black granny that earned it. And she probably is a lazy old black granny that earned it. But here's what she's fucking not. She's not an attorney with a spine and the drive to give a shit. She basically sits around and rubber stamps bullshit legal for the city. Instead, the city should have a whole bunch of hotshot young lawyers that can't fucking wait to prove how badass they are by sending a fucking commissioner down to the courthouse to answer for a $500 misdemeanor.
Go ahead and get yourself the new It City, and maybe you can have Columbia grads as your public defenders. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So Anita and her office at the city attorney, they declined, predictably, to file any charges against John O'Connor for this particular misdemeanor. Well, David, what in the fuck does a self-proclaimed smash mouth politico do in such a case? Where in the world would someone escalate such things to? Oh, wait, the state of Michigan has an attorney general who's been in fights with Trump. I think we'll go file it with her. Cindy points out, city attorney is a corrupt cunt charging me with tax evasion for my 2010 to 2012 tax returns. And this is a whole separate saga. We could do a whole show on it.
How the hell? Oh, wait. I forgot. Michigan has...
Cindy's getting fucked because she's spoken out. That's the bottom line.
I forgot Michigan, you actually have to file tax returns.
Yes, we have city and state
I was
federal.
really confused there.
So the city is trying to fuck around with that, with her.
Sorry,
so,
again, Tennessee,
so David,
you don't pay taxes other than sales.
I filed a criminal complaint with the Attorney General of the state of Michigan for a misdemeanor against John O'Connor for violating the very law that the mayor has cited at the beginning of every meeting. That's the piece that might end up the national news, because if she's feeling her fuck over the Trumpers and get her revenge vibes right about the time that she sees my complaint, I really hope that she'll use John O'Connor as a fucking example. And I don't want the motherfucker to go to jail. Fuck it. Just make his ass pay $500, which is approximately 3.5 minutes of his income at his 2 locations of his business.
We are running a little bit over time, and
we are. It's a special episode.
Yeah, exactly. Well under our maximum, or a little bit under our maximum, though. I really just want to come really quick back to the idea of hiding cops.
Yeah,
and I cannot. I bet. Oh man, I don't.
And you know what, David, they didn't always do this. They weren't always in the back. But the first time that the crowd managed to successfully shut down a meeting,
why do you hide cops?
They decided that they wanted to have the security blanket hanging out in the back.
I needed this for that little tidbit.
I get it, but that's what
Grand
they're
Rapids. Doing. Tune in, and you'll hear my entire diatribe at some point about separating peacekeeping and peace enforcement, and this is a definite.
Or go back and watch other.
Go back and watch our past episodes.
There are episodes aplenty where David goes down that rant rabbit hole. But
it is so bad. It's so bad. Why would you do that?
So let's bring the focus now. Now, granted, I have not gotten to watch the news coverage that I participated in as an interviewee today. So that's the caveat here. But I have gotten to see John O'Connor's statement. Now,
oh God,
let's throw this out there. First and foremost, John O'Connor, Grand Rapids First Ward Commissioner, owner of Long Road Distillery, which you should all fucking boycott, hasn't had fuck all to say to me, a constituent in his district, about unrelated topics outside of Patrick Lyoya since September of 2021. Then Lyoya happens. He still has fuck all to say to me. He has fuck all to say to anybody. The most recent Facebook post on his official Facebook page is from 2020 discussing George Floyd, a black man murdered by the police in a totally separate city. It's great that he copied and pasted some fucking garbage placations to keep him out of hot water with his general population at that time. But how reprehensibly insulting is it that John O'Connor has nothing the fuck to say on his Facebook page when a black man in his own city is murdered by his own police force? I'm waiting because the emotional impact of that fucking reality is just ridiculous. What the fuck? That by itself is what the fuck. What is it? 81 billion users worldwide on a platform, and the only thing you have to say for your lame duck second term ass is some shit about a guy in a different city that you don't even fucking mean? Fuck you, John O'Connor. That's the real talk, because I can say it here in my space. You want to tell me to fuck off? Come on the show. I've made it clear to every one of these motherfuckers. Hey, I have an open door. I have an open porch. I have an open chair. I have an open beer. I have an open mind, open hand, open heart. You can fucking engage with me. But you won't do it because you're fucking cowards.
I want to let you know, if you want to come on the show, I'm more than happy to act as moderator.
You will.
And here's the thing. I don't have a big dog in this hunt, man. I am more than happy to sit here and restrain this loudmouth, alcohol-fueled chimpanzee,
shaved ape. Get it right.
Orangutan. There we go. Orangutan. I'm more than happy to ape, great primate. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to restrain him on a regular basis. If you want to come in, I will. I have experience as an arbiter, as a negotiator. I am more than happy for you to sit down, and I will give equal time and be a fair player. Lucas can testify that I will smack him down as hard as I can on a regular basis if he gets out of line. So please feel free to come on the show. I invite it. I am more than happy to help you.
Yeah. And dude, the funny thing is,
of arbitration.
I asked for involvement via email in the fall. I've pleaded and begged and urged these people in emails, in statements on the mic, in the public forum. Engage, have something to say, step up, talk. And all of them have been fucking derelict in their duty. All of them have been way too quiet. All of them have been goddamn pussies, not understanding what they can and can't or should and shouldn't say for the sake of poisoning the investigation. Fuck that. You should be astute enough if you're an elected official to know what you can and can't say. And that goes for Kurt Reppert, who is the one of them that I actually like. He's the one that I really feel a good connection with. But I told him straight up, Kurt, you fucked up. I'm mad at you because you were on vacation and you didn't say a word and a man was killed in your city by your police, and you should have picked up the fucking phone, put down the fucking Mai Tai, and mustered 3 fucking sentences.
I don't understand why the city of Grand Rapids is investigating a murder by a Grand Rapids police officer as well.
No, dude, that's a totally so the city of Grand Rapids didn't investigate anything. The Michigan State Police investigated it. Then they turn it over to the Kent County prosecutor. Now, here's the thing that the part of leadership, this is I've had this gripe. You know I've had this gripe. Ever since Obama was elected and Tennessee liberal Tennessee Democrats in rural spaces decided to puss out and fade away into the woodwork because the black guy won, I have had a chip on my shoulder about elected leaders in America who are too fucking pansy to remember that part of their job is to educate the people. Part of their job is to say, hey, you know what? I'm here because I know more about these systems than you. Let me tell you how it works. None of these fucking people in Grand Rapids have bothered to inform the public in a sane and reasonable, widely spread way. You know what? We wish it was different, but we're beholden to the county. If you get a speeding ticket, you don't get a ticket from Grand Rapids. You get a ticket from Kent County. It goes to Kent County Court. We don't get to decide anything at that point.
Why I hate anything that is not metropolitan.
Exactly. But that's the situation we're in. This motherfucker is in the hands of the Kent County prosecutor, who has Trump's dick so far up his ass it's coming out his fucking nostrils. And that guy is the guy that's going to prosecute him in the Kent County court. There's not shit that anybody in the city can do about it. But they don't bother to explain that to people. So here's the statement from, or the comment from the chief. So it goes both ways. I'm protecting everybody's rights. That is true. That should be his job. Regardless of what the content of the speech is, that's debatable. But so far, I will say that he has stood there. And I will say that he even stood there the first night shit really popped off and got devolved into the meeting shut down and protesters taking over the room. Winstrom stood there. And he took it right on the sack from a lot of people for a while. And I gained a lot of respect for him for it. I'm losing my respect now because he doesn't have any control over his workforce and he's plenty of fucking time to boss up. So regardless of the content of the speech, we're certainly not going to tolerate the intimidation and bullying at these meetings. Well, that's kind of a matter of opinion. Am I intimidating? If I'm intimidating, you just don't know how to be a fucking politician.
I mean, like,
am I bullying?
Hey,
yes.
Grand Rapids.
Because fuck you, you're in power and you're being bullies.
Yeah. Grand Rapids, be glad you have him and his goddamn barely like intelligible speech. If I was up there, you all would have already like had me in like 5-point cuffs at this point.
All right. So the last part is the coup de grace of ridiculousness. As I said before, I will never tolerate one of my police officers being battered. Now, let's go back to that slow motion clip that we showed earlier. And we're not going to do it again. Those that missed it, we got a rewind button for a reason. If you look at the person in the pink, who is the person with which this escalation occurred, you can tell the lady cop trying to prove her shit in a room full of dickhead men that are not very good at accepting women into an increasingly female force here in Grand Rapids. These fucking sausage fest pieces of shit are in the room influencing her psyche. She's had to take shit from all of us, talking about how she should pay for her own insurance, which she fucking should, talking about how her profession is poisoned, which it fucking is, and talking about how she's probably mentally fucked up, which she probably is, to join the police force. So she's been taking a lot of shit. She's been sitting in the room. She becomes part of the fray. She goes out there. She's got, I don't know what the opposite of mano y mano is, lady y lady, going on. She needs to prove herself by taking somebody to the ground, and she sees an opportunity to do it because when she touches a person without their permission, which is what happened, she fucking touched an already leaving, like you said, a already withdrawing person. She touched them to usher them to the elevator, which she never fucking should have done. Do you hear me, Eric? She never should have done that. She's a fuck up. She should be suspended.
I want to point out
she touches the person and they say, "Don't fucking touch me." They either pushed her arm down, swatted her arm down, or shoved her, which is technically self-defense. It's not assault. It's not battering the officer. It's defending yourself against an unnecessary physical contact, which she responds to by rushing them and body slamming them.
I want to point out that this maneuver that I'm doing right now, crossing my arms, right? Crossing my arms. This, in that situation, is the correct maneuver.
You're right.
And this is why, if you're a cop, and they actually do train this to police officers and peace officers, which is the reason why you do this is so that it does not enable you to make unwanted contact. If you're excited, right? If you're in a excitable state and your arms are like this, right? Now, again, they're unarmed. They're not trying to rush you. They're leaving. Your arms are like this. You can't touch them. You can't move them. You can't do anything to them.
Yeah.
And that, ironically, and here's the irony is, while this is considered a confrontational pose, right? This is considered a confrontational pose. This is actually, in many peacekeeping situations, a beneficial pose. And the reason it's considered beneficial is because, again, my arms are not free to attack you.
It's a closed, self-contained body language. As a student of theater, it was rule number 1 to never do that.
Exactly.
As a student of improv theater, as a person who participated in street performance improv, the first rule is you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not. The rule was open hands. But if your hands are out and open at your sides, you are receptive to a new bit.
But
in policing, you are capable of violence with open hands and open arms. But in the cross, it's the opposite. You're covering your ass by doing this.
The other thing is, this says this space is closed, right?
Right.
You're closing off a space to someone who you don't want to be in that space.
Now, John points out that, jerking an arm away is another way that could have gone down. You can see the protester posture exactly. And in the slow-mo, and those that want to, go back and watch this video again later, you can't argue, well, in this fucked up county with this corrupt fucking prosecutor, it's going to be a problem. But normally in reasonable legal proceedings where Chris Becker, the fucking Trump fluffer and taint licker, isn't part of the equation, you would point out, and hopefully they can get legal representation that does, their motion, if you see it in the raw video and the slow-mo, they stomp sideways, they lurch sideways, they shift their weight hard to the foot away from the cop. So at the same time, they're swatting or resisting the notion that they should be touched, which is absolutely inappropriate and absolutely an assault on them first and absolutely an escalation. They are shifting their weight away. Like, I don't want to be part of you. I'm going to get on this elevator. I don't know why the fuck you're touching me, you fucking violent bitch. That's what's going on there. And I just hope that it comes out in the wash. Or Grand Rapids PD and the city of Grand Rapids are smart enough to fucking leave this alone and drop every charge. Because if you want to find a way to further embarrass yourselves, which you're ass deep, no, you're tits deep in embarrassing yourselves as a city government at this point, Grand Rapids. But if you want to try to gain back a little bit of it, drain that water down to the navel, you could probably drop all these charges. It would be more than reasonable. But anyway, I'm very disappointed in this whole proceeding, but I'm not shocked. And I reiterate the same thing that I've told news reporters, the same thing that I've iterated in emails. I've said it straight to these people's faces. I've looked into the camera at the meetings and invited opposing views. I've invited the Vans and Vosses looking straight into the camera. I'll even take any Officer Van Douche that wants to show up. Eric Winstrom, Chief of Police, Mayor Bliss, Mark Washington, but mostly John O'Connor. Hi, John. Hey, John. What up, buddy?
Again, John, my offer stands. I'm more than happy.
Hey, John. Here's the deal, homeboy. You didn't answer fucking email, and then a guy got killed in your city, and you had nothing to fuck to say for that or for yourself. You've been challenged directly. You haven't done fuck all to engage, communicate, or show anybody that you give a flying shit. And I have done everything I can to make sure that I offer you the door, or the door being open. I told the Fox 17 reporter this afternoon, if you want to come over here and we want to cuss each other out on my porch for 20 minutes, find out that we hate each other's guts and decide that's where we're at, and you leave, I would respect you more. If you got out in the public and said, you know what? I support GRPD. I think black people that run are scum, and Christopher Sure did the right thing. Patrick Lyoya deserved to die. At least that would be an opinion from your pansy bitch ass. But no. And then you have the nuts, somehow, the tiny, jelly belly fucking banana flavored nuts, to issue a statement to the media where you apologize for your conduct. And you make all kinds of excuses. Half of your fucking shit was false. You haven't done shit that you said.
I want to point out.
Hold on, David. I'm not done. You issue a statement to the media apologizing for your bullshit. But my phone has been quiet and my email box has been empty. You haven't said shit to the one motherfucker in the room that you decided to use a name for. And to quote William Smith Esquire, you can keep my name out your fucking mouth until you're ready to deal with me. And that's what I got to say to you, John. Go ahead, David.
Nah, I got nothing after that. I'm good.
Anyway, you know, I've been trying, man. It's like the quote on one of my email signatures, Pulp Fiction. I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. But these motherfuckers make it real goddamn difficult to try to be nice.
Jesus Christ, if Lucas is your shepherd, you're really fucked.
What else you got? What else you got in the comments, folks? We'll close out with anything else anybody wants to close out with. Otherwise, we're kind of at, you know, we have this arbitrary, imaginary
like
2 hour
limit, and we're over it. We're like, and besides, some of us have to technically work tomorrow.
John says it's insane that he said "fuck off, Lucas." Like, fuck O'Connor forever. I can't believe
you know what? I really want
Skynet. He got your Terminator joke in there, David.
Right?
Asking for a Terminator joke.
I was asking for a Terminator joke, and we got it. I'm just really shocked that after like so many years of Lucas being here in Nashville and pissing off God knows how many counselors, that who never managed to storm out of a meeting in protest, that he managed, like in 1 year, he managed to get one of your all's commissioners to swear at him by name and storm out. I'm shocked and awed by the thin skin of this guy. I'm amazed that this is what it's down to. Because
it says a lot about the difference in political prowess of the Grand Rapids, 1/3 the size of Nashville political scene, and the Nashville political scene. But also, David, what they don't understand here,
the Hills haven't put out a hit on you or anything.
But here's what they don't understand, David. You know, and if you recall, like, I went out for the Police Oversight Commission and I made it into the final round of voting in the council chamber in Nashville.
Oh, that's right, for the police commission. I forgot about that.
I made it through every round until the final round to be in that commission. In the hearings where you're interviewed for that commission, I looked straight at the future mayor, John Cooper, and defeated his argument when he said, police tend to trend in polling as very trustworthy. Why would you say that they're not? And I looked him dead in the face and I said, Mr. Cooper, after we were so wrong about the polling supporting Hillary Clinton, are we really going to sit here and have a discussion about the accuracy of polling in the United States of America? And he said, oh, well, okay. I had people in that council that understood how I'm wired. They understood that I'm a patriot, that I'm here for the greater good, and I'm not going to take any fucking shit. And 6 or 8 of them were on my page, and they could have a conversation with me.
And now we've inflicted you on Grand Rapids, and I'm very happy that we have.
They're not ready for my ass.
God knows the council is somewhat quieter.
Not really. There are a lot of rabble rousers still there every single time in Nashville.
There was a qualifier in there. No, I mean it is shocking to me that an elected representative would call a constituent out by name and then decide to make that the reason they were. I mean, like I at that point, I not to deflate your bubble a little bit, but it really felt like he was just going to storm out anyway, and he.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I mean,
I feel like he was getting up to leave and be the little bitch that he turned out to be already, but it's because I directly addressed him on his uselessness in that hot moment. He flew off the handle at me. He actually did two things wrong. He committed two affronts. He said, I'm done with this shit about the whole city. He basically told every one of us, fuck you, at that point, including the mayor who he walked behind and said that on her hot mic. Previous to that, he said, fuck off, Lucas, which I don't regard him having addressed at all. His statement didn't address it. None of it. And I mean, he didn't, his people or the fucking half-assed city communications guy that issued the statement. That's the other pussy part of it, right? The statement didn't come from the desk of John O'Connor, First Ward Commissioner, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hold on. It came from the city's fucking spokesperson. Talk about a cop-out.
What? Wait, hold up. It didn't come from him. It came from the city, communication.
Yes, it's not from John O'Connor. It's dated 7/15. First Ward Commissioner John O'Connor's statement, and it comes from Mr. Guitar, which we can laugh about the irony of that name later, who is apparently the media relations representative for the city, who you'd be real fucking hard-pressed to realize they even fucking have. And I'm not sure what his background is, but if he's supposed to tell these people how the fuck to do anything, he sucks at it. But no, David, it didn't come from the desk of John O'Connor, Commissioner, Grand Rapids, Michigan, First Ward. It did not come from his desk. It came from the whole city's media guy. Yes, that's the truth. I know it hurts.
What the fuck? I don't understand any of how you all organize shit. That doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. I don't understand. He made a personal statement in a council. It belongs to
Now I will. You know what? Because I have the whole way along, I've given these people the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him this benefit of the doubt. We are Southern guys. I am the Southern transplant. It may indeed be this is normal shit for the Midwest because, David, our school principal is leaving, and he has never written a personal email to the parents to tell us that he's leaving. The secretary sends us a weird copy-paste email from her in his first-person words without his signature at the bottom to indicate. And about halfway through, you realize, oh, it's not the secretary that's leaving. It's the principal that's leaving. Oh, okay. So it could be that despite some fantastic schools, the Midwest just sucks at fucking composition. I don't know, but yeah.
No, okay. So again, we need to wrap this up because we're way over time,
but your brain just keeps getting fried, and you can't.
Right? No, because
it's like some broke back fucking politics. You can't quit the stupidity,
right?
Here.
Because the thing that shocks me is this. So, in the Senate, we have these rules about franking, and so for those of you who don't know. So franking is the idea that you get paper that says United States Senate on it, right? That is paper paid for by the taxpayers of the United States of America. That says United States Senate and then your name. And you use that to respond directly to constituents who have tried to reach out to you.
Right.
Now, the reason this comes to mind is this. if a senator does something, well, let's just say fucking stupid, like, I don't know, Manchin breathes. That's fucking stupid. You would send a letter on U.S. Senate franked paper with the U.S. Senate seal and it says United States Senate on it, be like, I apologize to the citizens of West Virginia for breathing. See, that makes sense, right?
Right.
But if it's, I got caught with 3 dead hookers in my trunk, right? That's not the business of the United States Senate. So therefore, Senator Manchin could not use paper that had been provided by the United States taxpayer to explain to his constituents why there were 3 dead hookers and not the West Virginian usual 5. So, I'm a little concerned about the fact that you get apparently as a commissioner, there we go, commissioner of Grand Rapids, that you get to use taxpayer funded sources to explain your own personal bad behavior to your constituents via something that's paid for by taxpayers.
So I am, as we speak, I am, just because I know somebody's going to try to nitpick me eventually on this, or at least when they all huddle up to talk about Big Mean Lucas and how he's being such a pain in the ass and, you know, bringing patriotic American normality to their city. I am pretty sure, I'm trying to make sure I don't fuck up the anonymity here. All right, so I have redacted, which this city's real good at, the parts of this that don't need to be seen. I'm going to pull this in here. This is the statement as emailed, and here's how it's built, and it'll still make you want to throw more cans at the wall.
I know. I already picked them up and threw them away. Felt very bad about it.
Stand by. I got to find the right fucking screenshot for this. Let's see. Can Lucas computer this evening? There we go. Let's get this fucker in here. That's weird. It's saved in one of those mystery locations.
Regardless, I mean, I'm just pointing that out as a point of like, why are Grand Rapids taxpayers paying for John O'Connor to apologize for his own bad behavior, unrelated to his duties? Because it was unrelated to his duties. He didn't have to storm out.
Right.
Why are Grand Rapids taxpayers paying for him to issue a statement through a taxpayer-funded source? I don't know how I don't know how Michigan or Grand Rapids franking laws work.
All right, I'm going to pull us so we're not in the way. But here's the statement. So you can see it's
incredibly
a
small. No one can read that.
It's a document sent by Steve Guitar, who apparently is the not terribly great at his job media relations director person, whatever the fuck, that works for the city.
Commission.
That works for the city.
Yeah. So
it's a document sent by him, signed at the bottom. It's attributed at the bottom to the commissioner, but it's from a different person, which makes no fucking sense because the commissioner has a city email box.
Right. I mean, there is no logic in him using city resources to explain a bad personal decision. Again, if he had, I don't know, like if he had like I don't know, drank the entire bottle of Colon Blow, and like randomly decided to drop trow on his desk during the middle of a committee meeting, and shit all over the desk, right?
Yeah.
That would be bad. And honestly, but because it was not something that he was intentionally doing, hopefully, I don't know, maybe someone has a scat fetish. Anyway,
God damn.
I'm going to assume that, like, the city would be like, we apologize. Commissioner O'Connor felt ill, and unfortunately, it ended up.
It's like it should be a third person thing, and it's not. It's like
the desk, right? Or like they could even at that point, like they could even say, on behalf of Commissioner O'Connor,
right?
He apologizes for shitting all over.
It couldn't more obviously be a case of I'm incapable of apologizing for myself. I'm incapable of owning this particular moment, but we happen to have somebody employed by the city to supposedly manage media, but this is the first visible sign of his fucking existence. And so he's going to write it, and he's going to text it to me, and I'm going to say, yeah, sure, I guess. And he's going to send it out in my name.
But yeah, again, the whole point is why would you use a city resource to cover for like if it was
he's an employee, so maybe there's something with that. I mean,
it doesn't matter. It was a personal choice, not a government. Like in other words, what was he acting as Commissioner John O'Connor when he said those words and stormed out? Obviously not, because if he was a commissioner, he would not have stormed out. That was his entire purpose of serving on the commission, is to be a commissioner and to sit there and listen to things. So he can't be a commissioner if he's storming out. If he's storming out, it's a personal public choice. His words are his own, at which point he doesn't get to use taxpayer-funded resources to justify his own behavior.
That's not an incorrect observation. I like that take. And furthermore, I mean, the commission didn't immediately vote to excuse his absence, which I find ludicrous, considering the people that were absent at the beginning of the meeting, they voted to excuse them with seconds and majority aye. They didn't vote to excuse his absence, which is a miss, but that's just the mayor not understanding how to run shit. And if anything, the mayor should have to apologize for his conduct. She presides. Or the city manager. He's the executive in charge. There are a million other ways it could have gone. We all know at the end of the day, John O'Connor didn't write that shit. He didn't even mean it. He doesn't give a fuck about it. He's just doing it to try to give an answer to the media and get them and me off his back.
We're so over time.
And it's not going to happen.
We are so over time.
We really are. So we should probably wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never done this before, this is the flow of the commentary and the comments, and we're glad to have you involved. This is the way that we
very much, John,
carry on.
John Williamson, who showed up. Sincerely appreciate you tuning in. Please
not only do we appreciate you tuning in, we appreciate that video. The whole community appreciates your video, and there are a lot of others. The biggest problem for these lying sacks of shit is there are like a dozen videos that argue against all the charges they're trying to put on these demonstrators. So very much thank you, and we do appreciate you as well. And, we do this every week. At the beginning of the week, it's a little bit up in the air on which night, but we always announce it in advance. Yeah. We talk about national and local combos. We start off with a little banter called Hot Takes. And then we run into our beer, and then we get into one of us having a pet topic that's short. Then we drink another beer, and we review that. And then we talk for a good hour on a big deal topic in
or you're like me,
country.
And I'm like, it's my day off, and I'm going to drink like 7, 8.
Yeah, I typically have 2. David doesn't have a limit, technically.
No, because I only do this show on my day off,
right?
Which means that I'm going for broke pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
You won't see me get drunk live and in color.
Since there are so many new people in the room, and I'm not going to let you explain it, I'm going to make you explain it on a future show. I'm going to be that Machiavellian asshole that makes sure we get people to tune in later. You've got a poster over your shoulder that sometimes has brought you some controversy.
Oh, Jesus.
It's 100% not a Nazi poster. Yep.
It is not a Nazi
he
poster.
will gladly, every couple of episodes, reiterate why.
I don't even understand why I have to reiterate this so many times.
But if you're out there and you're the kind of dumbass that doesn't know what it is and thinks it's a Nazi poster, which is probably the same kind of dumbass that doesn't understand why I would hang an upside down flag on my porch for the last several weeks,
right?
Then you need to take a screenshot and go Google image search with an image and learn you some history.
There you go.
We will leave it there. So as we say for every show, we appreciate you joining us. You can subscribe, you can like it, you can please share it with your friends and all of your groups. I'm in Facebook jail for another like 25 days because I called a racist white bitch out loud, and you know,
and
Zuck
apparently
doesn't like it.
Lucas won't remember my trick of just simply switch languages. Just go to French.
I like speaking the language of the morons that I'm trying to challenge.
I like being
so I can't really do much sharing right now, but feel free to get it out there and share this shit. And we really appreciate everybody joining in. We don't make money at this, and if we did, we wouldn't be able to make enough money to make it worth it.
We wouldn't.
We do this because of a little bit of therapy and a whole lot of patriotic duty, and we appreciate everybody joining in the effort. We do have a standard way of ducking out for the night. So at this point, we'll do that. We will wish you good night,
good evening,
and
good
luck.